Yo, and we are live, man. Sorry, I gotta do that one more time. Man, appreciate the support here at S.E.T Media, man. Today we got a good little lineup. Today we got some, well, really is gonna be kind of funny. Because first, going to start off on a serious note with my man Trump and his executive orders. Then we're gonna get into a bit of Joy Reid trolling. I mean, like everybody else. And let's be real, it's downright entertainment. Let's go.
And if that's going to happen, we want to be the ones that sue, not them. And they use it almost as a form of running European countries, and the EU in particular has been very violent in its lawsuits against our companies, and frankly, very violent and very bad to our airlines. I've gotten calls from the heads of airlines saying they stop in Europe and they're getting charged all sorts of taxes that they never even heard of. They stop and they're getting fined and charged, and they do it only with American companies. They're not doing it to other countries, so we're stopping it. And we have another thing, we have another step to go, and if they don't shape up, as an example, Apple has had to pay like $17 billion in a lawsuit that nobody thought was worth anything. And I won't get into the judge or the decision or how the decision was arrived, but I'm pretty good at this stuff, and I think it's disgraceful. And Google's being sued, Facebook's being sued, and many others are being sued by their so-called government, if you call it a government, EU, and they don't treat us right. They don't treat us right as a country. So we're going to protect our companies. We have to protect our companies. So we're not going to have any companies left anymore. I also want to thank Apple, though, for announcing they're going to invest $500 billion in our country. That's the biggest investment anybody's probably made to this date. And they're going to do it very quickly. And that's because of tariffs. They don't want to pay the tariffs. And they feel very strongly about the country. Now,
I wonder what Apple's bringing over here. Did I bring over the manufacturing, chips, like data center? Like, what's Apple actually doing over here? I'm going to have to look that one up. Because last time I heard, we start making iPhones here, it's going to be like 2,500.
They wouldn't have done it without us. Without the Trump administration, they wouldn't have done it. But they feel very strongly about the direction of the country. The polls have shown that, too. The polls are coming out showing direction of the company is of the country is the best they've ever seen, actually. Best they've ever seen. So I just want to thank Tim Cook and Apple for the confidence. $500 billion. That's the biggest investment anyone has made in a short period of time.
Mr. President, have you spoken today with the House Republican holdouts who said they would not be supporting the budget resolution?
Well, I'm not involved in that. They know what I want, and the Senate knows what I want too. And the Senate's got a bill that's very strong, having to do with the taxes, because the taxes is what's bringing all these companies in. So, and without it, by the way, you'd have to double your own taxes. Everybody would be doubled up, or you'd have the biggest tax increase ever. So the House has a bill and the Senate has a bill, and I'm looking at them both, and I'll make decisions. But I don't know where they are in the vote. I know the Senate's doing very well, and the House is doing very well, but each one of them has things that I like. So we'll see if we can come together.
Mr. President, can you clarify, hopefully once in...
Yeah, hopefully we can get something a little on the bipartisan side. Yeah, hopefully we can get something that both sides can agree on and be like, you know what? It was a damn good job on both Republicans and Democrats side, and they could sit there and shake hands and be like, you know what? At least we can agree on how we don't want to get taxed to death. At least we can agree on that, right? Right.
For all, what your expectations are with this email to federal employees. What are you going to use that information for? And do you see it as voluntary, like OPM has said, or mandatory?
Yeah, well, it's somewhat voluntary, but it's also, if you don't answer, I guess you get fired. What it really is, do people exist? We have this massive government with millions of people, and nobody knows who's working for the government, who's not. So what they're doing is they're sending out a letter to everybody, and they're saying, what were the things you did last week? Mm-hmm. I guess they ask for 5. And if people are working, it's easy. I could tell you 5 things I did last week. I could tell you 5 things I did 6 weeks ago, right? If they're there and they're working, they're able to say they did 5 things during work. And that means they're working and they're with us and they have no further obligation. If they're not, It could be there's no such person. It could be that the person's no longer working. They're no longer living at that address. They may be moved. Maybe they moved to a different country, or maybe the person doesn't exist. And we then take that person off the payroll, and we save a lot of money by doing that. But that's one of the only ways. I think it's a very smart thing. And it says, if you don't answer, essentially, there's a penalty to pay. Like, that's the end of the job.
Well, Musk has said that. The order itself doesn't say that. I think that's part of the confusion.
And what's up to my man, guest dude, man? How's it going?
Is he speaking for you when he says?
Yeah. Everybody speaks for me. I'm the one. I'll take responsibility. The old statement, the buck stops here, right? Famous statement. Well, I can say the same thing. The buck stops here. No, we have to find out if people are getting paid and they're not working. And, they have a problem. Let's say they have another job and then they write in false statements. It's a big problem if they write in false statements. They may be working for somebody else, but getting paid by the U.S. government. And that would mean that they're not allowed to be doing that. They're not allowed to be working for us and be working for somebody else. We're paying them a lot of money. We're paying them. So we'll see. That solves that problem. Most people aren't willing to say that, we're doing this, and this, and this for the U.S. government, and yet they're at another job, because that's a big problem for them if they do that. So in some cases, they're not writing back. And if they don't write back, they end up eventually losing their job. We give them extensions, but that was something we thought about a long time ago. We give them extensions, but we'll see. We have to make sure, number one, that we have people, number two, that they're working, and number two, they're working for us, not for another company.
Is it true that President Zelensky is coming on Friday to meet with you, and is the mineral deal sorted out?
Yeah, I hear that. I hear that he's coming on Friday. Certainly, it's okay with me if he'd like to, and he would like to sign it together with me, and I understand that's a big deal, very big deal. And I think the American people, even if you look at polling, they're very happy because, Biden was throwing money around like it's cotton candy. And it's a very big deal. Look, it could be $1 trillion deal. It could be whatever, but it's rare earths and other things. And look, we're spending hundreds of billions of dollars on.
And I love that point. And not even the point, but I love what he's doing over there in Ukraine. He's like, hey, yeah, look, we need the rare earth minerals. And what they say, Ukraine got a pretty good supply on grain. Yeah, we can use that too. Go ahead and bring that over here as well. So I kind of like what this man's doing. He's kind of using almost every tragedy that went down in the past, year or two. 2 years or so. Man, Ukraine, Gaza. All right, so the Gaza thing. All right, now Gaza's about to be part of U.S. real estate. Wow, okay. Now Ukraine and Russia. All right, well, we're going to find a way to benefit from Russia owning parts of Ukraine by getting, rare earths and minerals and all that good stuff. It's like, I like it. We're finding a way to benefit on all fronts, no matter what. We're turning bads and we're turning lemons into lemonade. And shout out, man, I appreciate the support. So go ahead and double tap that screen, like the video. Let's get more people on the conversation, or those 3 dots up there in the corner.
Ukraine and Russia fighting a war that should have never, ever happened. That's a war that would have never happened if I were president. And it didn't happen for 4 years. People say, how do we know that it didn't happen for 4 years? Would have never happened. And nevertheless, this guy went into this situation and he spent money like nobody's ever seen, $350 billion. The other thing that we don't like is that Europe has spent $100 billion. We've spent $350 billion. Europe gets their money back because they spent it in the form of a loan. And we just gave them, whether it's 300 or 350 billion, nobody really knows. They can't even tell me the answer to that, but it means probably more than that. So what we're doing is now we're saying, look, we want to be secured. We want to get that money back. We're helping a country through a very, very big problem, a problem like very few people have had. Shouldn't have had this problem because it shouldn't have happened, but it did happen. So we have to straighten it out. But the American taxpayer now is going to get their money back plus.
Mr. President, yesterday with Emmanuel Macron, you said you had spoken to Putin about the idea of peacekeepers in Ukraine, that Putin was fine with it. The Kremlin, I guess, has said that that's actually unacceptable to them.
Well, that's not what I was told, but you're going to need some form of peacekeeping. So something will be done that's going to be satisfactory to everybody. We need peacekeeping too.
Any situation?
It's actually something I did discuss, but a form of peacekeeping that's acceptable to everybody, ultimately we'll be able to agree on something. I'm sure.
With Ukraine and this mineral deal, what does Ukraine get in return, Mr. President?
$350 billion and lots of equipment and military equipment and the right to fight on and originally the right to fight. Look, Ukraine, I will say they're very brave and they're good soldiers, but without the United States and its money and its military equipment, this war would have been over in a very short period of time. In fact, I was the one that gave the javelins. You remember the famous javelins? That was me. That wasn't Obama. It wasn't Biden. It wasn't anybody else. It was me. And they wiped out a lot of tanks with those javelins. And the expression was that Obama gave sheets and I gave the javelins. That was a big deal at the time. It wiped out. That was the beginning when people said, wow, that's something. Well, that was American equipment. Without American equipment, this war would have been over very quickly. And American money, too. I mean, a lot of money.
So that war fighting equipment and the ammunition, that's sustained going forward for Ukraine, and how long is it sustained?
Well, it could go forward for a while, and maybe until we have a deal with Russia. Look, we need to have a deal with Russia, otherwise it's gonna continue. But now when Americans put up their money.
And for those of you who are mad about, oh, well, we need to deal with Russia. Yes, we need to deal with Russia. We need to deal with the stronger force, okay? They may be the opposing force, but the strongest force in this matter. So what does it look like us talking with Ukraine when they have no power in this matter? It doesn't matter what they want. They can't even take their own land back. So they don't matter. Russia, I mean, bro, if they really wanted to, they could take all of Ukraine, but they've chosen to stop because of Trump. So come on now. The only people we can honestly talk to is the people who can go out there and take more land if they want.
The taxpayer money and the president approves it. We're getting our money back in some form, but it could go on for a while or it could be settled quickly. I think it's going to be settled quickly. I spoke with President Putin. I think he wants to settle it. And
And shout out my man Daniel Castro. He said, cheers, man. Nice move. We ain't playing any BS. Oh God, Joe, you're gonna have to come back on we might have to save your stuff for the weekend, man. We'll save you for the weekend.
You get on with life. It's horrible. What's happening? Horrible. Thousands of
or until you commit that you're wrong. Those are two reasons we'll bring you in, either for a call-in show or until you commit that you're wrong.
Soldiers a week are being killed, and others too, but especially on the battlefield. Thousands a week are being killed. And we want that to end. Yeah, Brian?
Yes. Okay. Real quickly, Carolyn Levitt, your press secretary, sent an earthquake through that briefing room earlier today announcing that the WHCA would not have any control over placing media in the seats, the briefing room. Just want to get your thoughts on that. And also on Air Force One. It's trending on X. People are talking about it. Get your thoughts.
Well, we're going to be now calling those shots. As you know, we won that lawsuit right there. See, the Gulf of America, which is a beautiful name. Most people agree. I don't know. It's, AP has been terrible. Look, I think they're radical left. I think they're third-rate reporters.
Here's the craziest thing. Why in this great country of America, why are Americans mad about the Gulf of America? I just don't get it. I feel like that's the most un-American thing at this point. It's like, bro, the Gulf of Mexico is now ours. The Gulf of America. If you out there as a full-blown American going like, oh, it's still the Gulf of Mexico to me, then take your ass to Mexico.
I know the specific young lady that works on the account is terrible. She's a radical left lunatic as far as I'm concerned. They don't treat us fairly. That's number one. And number two, they had no right to do that. This is the Gulf of America. And if you look at that shoreline, look at that shoreline. Look, from Florida, well, most of it it's called America. And vast majority, like big numbers. So I'm just admiring it as I look at it. I'm getting teary-eyed, but I don't want you to say Trump broke down and started crying. No, how beautiful is that? Look at the shoreline. Look at that.
Well,
That's America.
Can I shift our attention to Canada real quick?
Yes, please.
Last week, I spent some time with two government officials from Canada. And I was asking them how realistic is it that Canada would be the 51st state?
Yeah.
And they told me there is a path. Alberta is first, And if they sign on, Saskatchewan would follow, and then you go west to British Columbia. There is a movement in Canada to join us. I want to get your thoughts on that and how that's proceeding.
So it's true. Thank you, Brian. It's true. A lot of people in Canada are liking becoming our beautiful, cherished 51st state. They'll have to pay much lower taxes. They'll have the ultimate security. You know, they don't pay very much for security right now because they rely on us, which is really unfair to us. They make cars that we could make, and they send them back into the United States. They make a lot of things, including the sending of oil and everything. We don't need their oil. We don't need their lumber. In fact, we're going to be freeing up.
I'm weak. Shout out James Foley. He says, well, I'm glad Joe Smo is it. Wait, I'm what? I'm glad Joe Smo isn't gone. I can finally be gay. Or are you glad he is gone? Okay, now you're glad he is gone because he's gone up out of here. Sorry, Joe. And James, I mean, let's be real. You were going to be gay regardless. Like,
up, and I've asked Howard Lutnick to get that done with Lee and everybody, Lee Zeldin, environmental. We're freeing up our forests. We're going to be able to take down trees. Right now, you know, we're so restricted environmentally. We're going to be freeing it up with an emergency order. We have an emergency order, and we're going to be freeing up our forests. We have more forests than almost anybody, and great lumber, great trees. We don't need anybody's trees. We don't need trees from Canada or anybody else. In fact, we have to put the slits, as they call them, the area, you know, 50, 60-yard area in between areas of trees. It stops the fires. And frankly, California should have been doing that for years. It's almost getting late. They're going to run out of forests the way they're going. What a shame. And by the way, the water is flowing in California. I hope you people have seen it. But the water is flowing. Do you have a picture of that? Hold it up. Do you have a picture of that? Get a picture of it, please. You know, we had a little skirmish in California. I can't believe we had to do that. But we opened up the water in California. The water was flowing into a place called the Pacific Ocean, which for the Pacific Ocean is only a drop. But for us, it's more water that we can use in California. So I'll get you some photographs, but it's a beautiful sight. The water is flowing in California, beautiful water from the Pacific Northwest and beyond. And it flows down, and instead of being routed out to the Pacific Ocean, and this has been going on for 20 years more in order to take care of a certain species of fish, which wasn't doing very well without water, I can tell you. So,
and shout out to my man. Shout out to my man, Guest Dude. He said James finally comes out as gay, and I missed him by 3 minutes. Damn it. I could have had a Boston man. There's always next Tuesday. Next Tuesday.
That's a big deal. It's like,
so the gay clubs go up on a Tuesday now?
Not reported. It's incredible. But California has a lot of water. That's going to take care of farmers. It's going to wetten up the land. And it's going to go all the way down to Los Angeles, where they have curfews on water, where they have all sorts of blocks on water. You can only use so much. We're going to put until just recently, they were going to put a number of gallons per person living in a house in Beverly Hills on water. You're not going to have that problem anymore. Do you have a picture? Let me just see what that looks like. How beautiful is that? Look at that beautiful water flowing. Look at that. That's coming in the dikes and other means of transportation. Isn't that beautiful? Who would believe that?
You know what kills me? It was so easy to do this, bro. It's so easy to do this that you would really just look at like Gavin Newsom, like, bro. Stupid. It was that easy, bro. All you had to do was just get the water up there. So by that, like, just because it was that easy,
he's stupid
in terms of leadership. Like, you're stupid when it comes to leadership. And shout out to my man Adam Rogers coming in with a $5 super chat. He says, "Can I get about $5 million in donations for a golden card? I promise I'll pay taxes if it's a path to citizenship. Pay to win, baby." Hey, man, I'm weak. All right, that was funny. Shout out my man James Foley coming in with a 2. He says, "Not gay at first. Had to ask the rabbi for permission." Bro, Smoothie's in the. No, never mind. No, that fucking. I ain't gonna lie, that was funny as hell.
Oh shit! Oh shit!
Damn it, bro! You could have said Catholic priest. You chose rabbi.
That's all water they could have had. I went to the governor during my first term, and I said, why don't you do this? And they said they have an environmental problem with clean water. If this water were there, you wouldn't have had those fires. You had sprinklers. They make people put sprinklers in the ceiling of a home, and they had no water in them. With this, they would have had a lot of water in them. They would have all been full. That would have had you would have had a whole different deal down there. You probably wouldn't have had a fire, but if
I ain't gonna lie, this is what you call an asshole point. It's like, and it's a I told you so point. It's like, that's why I like to call it an I told you so point. It's an asshole point. Because it's like, bro, you're being an asshole about it. It's like, come on, bro. I told you. This all you really had to do was go ahead and put water up here. And you wouldn't have, come on, you wouldn't have got fire. Look at it. This is how you solve problems. Now, not how you did it, but this. Everybody look at the picture that Trump has. Like, it's kind of an asshole way to make a point.
were built, these were all built. And you saw them for years. They were empty, concrete. They call them the V-shapes or the half pipes. And they're shaped different forms, but they're shaped and they rush down through the farm areas where the farmers can take it and down to Los Angeles. And they were sitting empty for years. And now look at that way it looked. It wasn't easy. We had to be very unfriendly to get into those areas. We opened it up.
Mr. President.
I essentially attacked.
And guys, I do want to make sure that, guys, make sure y'all double tap the screen and like the video. And I have something upcoming new for the members. And this is a members only perk. Shout out to the members and shout out to my man Castro for the idea. So we are going to go ahead and have members only can come up and have we'll give you 2 minutes, a 2-minute response to any, to whatever video we're playing, any per video. It doesn't matter which video, per video. It don't even matter. You don't got super chat in or nothing. Just let me know when you want to come on, and I'll go ahead and I'll send you guys the Discord link in the Discord, or DM it or put it in the Discord chat. Appreciate you guys. And remember, if you want to become a member to have that perk as well, all you gotta do is join.
California, can you believe it? I attacked California. Let's go.
Yes, even the naysayers can go ahead and get their 2 minutes off and go crazy on Trump if you want to. Just gotta be a member.
At the outset of your administration, sir, you committed to ending the weaponization of government, to holding those accountable who participated in the weaponization of government.
Hold it. This is a good one. Is everybody listening? Deranged Jack Smith. We're going to call it the Deranged Jack Smith signing or bill.
One law firm that provided pro bono legal services to the special counsel's office under Jack Smith's leadership was Covington and Burling. As a result of those actions, we're now going to be suspending and putting under review the security clearances for the attorneys and employees at that firm who worked with Jack Smith's team. And we're going to continue holding the people who were responsible for the weaponization of government, who supported it, accountable for what they did.
And you'll be doing this with other firms as time goes by, right?
We're looking at sort of the whole panoply of options.
The weaponization of our system by law firms, even pro bono work they're doing just in order to clog up government, stop government. And nobody knows about it more than me. And hopefully that'll never happen again.
So the Covington and Burlington?
Man.
Covington and Burlington.
I mean, look, bro, if you did any real research into how that man got felonies, like, bro, look at this man's felony charges and tell him and tell me, does it not look like these people just copy and pasted felonies? Like, and I mean by copy and paste, they charge a man for the same felony 3-4 times. Like, a man had multiple felonies, but they charge him for the same felony 3 or 4 times for a total count of, 34 felonies. I mean, shit, I guess you can make anything happen legally when you're acting corrupt legally.
Mr. President, may I ask you a question about Europe? For long term, do you plan to maintain the number of U.S. troops?
Wait, I just want to savor this one, please. Who would like this pen? Hey, why don't you send it to Jack Smith?
And shout out Seth. She says, W. Daniel, I love that idea. Hello, everyone. Hey, Seth, how you doing, sis? Shout out Seth. Coming in with the hello.
A deranged person.
So, what do you say to people who worry that targeting an individual firm or individuals who aren't Jack Smith?
Excuse me. I've been targeted for 4 years, longer than that. So you don't tell me about targeting. I was the target of corrupt politicians for 4 years, and then 4 years after that. So don't talk to me about targeting. Yeah, go ahead.
Mr. President,
Yeah, look.
there are approximately 2 million federal employees right now. By the end of your term, what do you expect that number to be? What would you like that number to be?
Well, it'll be lower, but I can't tell you. Everybody knows I ran on downsizing government, but making government better. I ran on tariffs and making our country rich, and that's what's going to do. We're going to be doing something else that's going to be very, very good. We're going to be selling a gold card. You have a green card. This is a gold card. We're going to be putting a price on that card of about $5 million.
Damn. Okay, this is what Hey, okay, Aaron. This is what you was talking about. My man, Adam. This is what Adam was talking about because he said, "Look, if you gonna come in here, man, you better have that money on." He said, "You gonna get not a green card, a gold card." I wonder how that mug gonna look. Like, bro, it should be a card that got the USA, but like that got the USA flag, but it all gold though. That'd be so cool. I would damn near get a gold card. Fuck it, I'll save up for one just to have it. But in all serious point, I mean, I don't know, bro. That doesn't seem like a good idea. And I'm gonna tell you why it doesn't seem like a good idea. Because, bro, last time I checked, there's a lot of evil people who can afford $1 million for $5 million. I mean, there are terrorists, like leaders of terrorist organization who can give a guy $5 million to get their ass in here. So I would actually have to ask him, yeah, what are the requirements of getting a gold card? Because it can't just be 5 million. It can't just be that.
And that's going to give you green card privileges. Plus, it's going to be a route to citizenship. And wealthy people will be coming into our country by buying this card. They'll be wealthy and they'll be successful and they'll be spending a lot of money and paying a lot of taxes and employing a lot of people. And we think it's going to be extremely successful. Never been done before, anything like this, but it's something that we're going to be putting out over the next, would you say 2 weeks, Howard? Do you want to say a couple of words about it?
Mr. President, are there any requirements for that
Hang on a
gold
second.
card? Do you have to invest a certain amount of money in this country in order to qualify for that gold card?
Yeah, exactly.
So
Go
the
ahead.
EB-5 program was really, you lend some money, but it was full of nonsense, make-believe and fraud, and it was a way to get a green card that was low priced. So the president said, rather than having this sort of ridiculous EB-5 program, we're going to end the EB-5 program. We're going to replace it with the Trump Gold Card, which is really a green card gold. So they'll be able to pay $5 million to the U.S. government. They'll have to go through vetting, of course. We're going to make sure they're wonderful, world-class global citizens. They can come to America. The president can give them a green card, and they can invest in America, and we can use that money to reduce our deficit. Why do we give out lotteries of green cards? Why do we give out EB-5 for green cards? The President of the United States understands that the right answer is, why don't we eliminate the deficit of the United States of America instead?
The gold card, well, millions, but the gold card.
I mean, I ain't gonna lie, I'm gonna have to steal that joke, Shmuley. That was actually a funny ass joke. This man said, I'm an American premium subscriber. That is hilarious, my friend. That's hilarious. But he's not wrong though. It's like, it does sound like, yeah, I'm on that American subscription, baby. How much you pay? I pay that good $5 million, baby. You know, I'm an American citizen, USA. I don't like that. I do not like that. But I'm hoping he's going to explain how is this going to work in detail. Because right now I'm like, yeah, no, I'm okay. That leads too many, I ain't gonna lie, that leads to a lot of loopholes in the way bad people can get into America. Still, I mean, it just takes one evil ass billionaire to send in like what? I mean, 30 criminals. He just got to pay $5 million each. That man done spent like $150 million just to be an evil motherfucker and send criminals into America. So it better be something else than just you having $5 million.
Will bring in with it people that create jobs, very high level people. I think companies will pay to get people in. For instance, you today graduate from the Wharton School of Finance or Harvard or Stanford or any college, and nobody knows if you can even go to work for a company. So Apple and all these companies that want to get people to be working for them will be able to buy a card, and for the people that are number one in their class at top schools, I see that as one of the things, but
We got about 100 y'all in here, man. Do me a favor and double tap that screen, man. Let's get more people in on the conversation, or hit the 3 dots up there through the SK Media logo. Appreciate the support.
generally speaking, it'll be people with money and people that create jobs, and they won't have to pay any tax on income outside of the United States, which they're not paying right now. They're not citizens, but they'll have to pay if they create jobs in the United States. They'll pay full taxes like everybody else. So you're getting big taxpayers, big job producers, and we'll be able to sell maybe 1 million of these cards, maybe more than that. And if you add up the numbers, they're pretty good. As an example, 1 million cards would be worth $5 trillion. $5 trillion.
Wow.
And if you sell 10 million of the cards, that's a total of $50 trillion. Well,
Oh, and you know what? Like I said, I need to hear the requirements because he's scaring me a bit. I'm just like, look, dog, I hear where you're going with this. I hear where you're going, monetarily wise, but homeland security wise, though, how are you protecting us on that side? Because this gold card, like I said, that leaves a crazy loophole for some evil rich people to send some questionable people in here. I mean, it also leaves a loophole for, I don't know, maybe enemy nations to, round up a couple billion and start flooding people in here on the guidelines that they can afford $5 million a person.
we have 35 trillion in debt. That'd be nice. So we'll see. But it could be great. Maybe it will be fantastic. We have it all worked out from the legal standpoint. It's totally legal to do. Hasn't been done before. It's been done in many different forms. We give them away. Why should we give them away? We shouldn't give them away. And I think it's something very exciting. I think it's potentially just something that we're all very excited about. So it's a gold card. It's somewhat like a green card, but at a higher level of sophistication. It's a road to citizenship for people. And essentially people of wealth or people of great talent, where people of wealth pay for those people of talent to get in, meaning companies will pay for people to get in and to have long-term status in the country. And I think it's something we're very, very happy about. Would you have anything to say about that?
Well, many other countries, by the way, do this, including, of course, your 51st state does that.
And the money's earmarked for deficit reduction?
It may be earmarked for deficit, but it actually could be more money than that. I mean, if you did 10 million, you'd have $15 trillion left over. But generally, it's going to be paid down debt. Yes.
Do you need Congress for this? Do you think you need?
No, we don't need Congress. No, because we're not doing citizenship. We're doing the card. It's a path. It's a path to.
I'm weak. Hey, that was a very smart aleck answer. He's like, yeah, we'll see. Under his breath, though, if you ain't hear that, that was smart.
It's going to be paid down debt. Yes.
Do you need Congress for this? Do you think you need?
No, we don't need Congress. No, because we're not doing citizenship. We're doing the card. It's a path. It's a path to citizenship, a very strong path to citizenship. But we're not doing the citizenship. For that, I'd have to get Congress.
And would all countries be?
Hold on. Then what the fuck is? Hold on now. Now he confusing me. I ain't even gonna lie. Now I'm a bit confused, guys. I thought they were gonna buy the citizenship. Well, like, what are they doing? Paying $5 million a year, a month? Like, what's going on here? Because I thought you paid $5 million and you just a full blown citizen. That's what was scaring me. So I'm kind of glad that's not the premise. He's pretty much saying this isn't automatic citizenship for $5 million.
Eligible for this
Depends. The countries largely, the people will be vetted very carefully.
Mr. President, in Ukraine, would you provide military?
Oh, okay. So only certain countries will be eligible to get a golden card. Yeah. So only certain countries that I guess we trust to send over, somebody that they're willing to pay $5 million to be in here for. I mean, shoot, send your best and your brightest if you're gonna put $5 million behind them, please. But hopefully it is only from ally countries and or ally nations. And if it's not, then I'm gonna be real with you, Trump. This was a pretty dumb idea.
Stupid.
Support for Ukraine in the future under a peace agreement.
Say it again louder.
Would you provide military support for Ukraine in the future as part?
You mean
of
like
the peace
security?
agreement? Yeah.
Well, people are going to do it. I think Europe will largely be responsible for that. European countries will be responsible.
But Macron asked for a U.S. backup.
Well, we'll see. I mean, right now we're just in the process of negotiating. We've pretty much negotiated our deal on raw earth and various other things. we'll be looking at that security. You're talking about general security for Ukraine later on. I don't think that's going to be a problem. There are a lot of people that want to do it. And I spoke with Russia about it. They didn't seem to have a problem with it. So I think they understand. They're not going back in. Once we do this, they're not going back in.
So no
On that gold card,
aircraft. Would it
So Trump is, well, I don't know. Like I said, for those who don't like Trump, you're going to take this with a grain of salt. For those of us who kind of trust what the man's saying, at least 80%, well, he's pretty much just telling y'all period point blank. Yeah, Putin's not, expanding his borders. Like, how they try to fear monger you. If we let him take Ukraine, all of Europe is next. And no, that was never going to happen. It was all about Ukraine and keeping NATO off the board. That's all it's ever been about. It is not about Russia becoming imperialistic and trying to take over all of Europe. No. I mean, bro, you can make that imperialistic like judgment of Trump more of Trump than on Putin, to be honest.
Did the U.S. provide, for instance, air defense?
Well, I just told you, right now we're not providing anything. It's about Europe, too. Europe put in $100 billion and we put in $350 billion. It's not a fair thing. We would normally say, and I say it now anyway, but we want equalization. They should put up actually more money than us because they're right there. We have an ocean in between. But we've had very good talks with Russia. We've had very good talks with Ukraine, and we think it maybe will come to an end and we'll stop killing young people all over the battlefield and elsewhere.
On Europe, so do you plan to maintain having military presence in Europe in the long term, like tens of thousands of troops?
We'll be involved. Yeah, we'll be involved in Europe. We're involved in Europe now. Europe is our friend. They took advantage of us on trade. We don't like that. What the EU does, we don't like that. But we'll solve that the old-fashioned way. We're
in a trade deficit with most European countries. So when he said Europe don't treat us good, we're talking about hella countries that do not have a good trade with us. German, this really kills me about Germany. All the German cars that we sell here, but nobody in Germany is really driving our cars. That's the problem. I'd be willing to go ahead and give up the option of a Mercedes and BMW if it means we're not getting screwed over by these people. I'll be happy to do it. I know some of y'all, it'd break it damn hard. Like, trust me, I love those cars too. But look, man, we just can't be getting played on the back end like this, guys. Like, it's more than just,
give them the same reciprocal numbers. We're talking about a reciprocal tax, that. And if they charge us, we charge them. Right now, they charge us much, much more than we charge them. And they have non-monetary taxes also and tariffs. And we're going to change that. It's all changing. We're not going to be the people that we were. We had people in this office sitting right at this desk or another model of this desk, because as you know, the other desk is right now being refurbished.
Is Steve Witkoff delaying his trip to the Middle East?
No, not that I know of. No, Steve. And the Middle East has been great. Saudi Arabia has treated us really well. They really.
And hey, we got about 120 y'all in here, man. Do me a favor and double tap that screen and like the video with the 3 dots up there in the corner, and make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Appreciate the support. Let's keep it going. And you can send in any question, comments, disagreements, $2 and up. We'll go ahead and post it to the top of the chat, man. Just like my girl Seth and my man Foley. Appreciate the support, guys. Let's keep it going.
Yeah, I think Qatar has treated us very well too. They want to get that whole mess ended in the Middle East. We don't even talk about that anymore. You guys haven't asked one question about the Middle East, but the Middle East seems to be doing relative.
And shout out for my man Mark for the baller alert. Appreciate the support, my friend. But let me go ahead and bowling. All right, let's keep it going. All right, that gold card would probably be a good way for terrorists to get into the country, especially the ones that aren't on the system. And that was the first point I made, Mark. I said, off a rip, I don't like it. Like, we just got done having a homeland security crisis, and then this man want to talk about a gold card, and he's not really even. I'm a little bit frustrated with Trump right now. I'm gonna be real with you. I'm a little bit frustrated because you're not even really telling us, like, yo, please tell us there's more details than somebody being able to hand over a 5 million. Because if that's the case, fuck that. They need to be able to hand over 500 million. Like, that needs to be it. If you're just giving it out just for money, it can't just be as cheap as 5 million.
Well,
bro, 5 million is $5 to a country. $5 million is life-changing dollars to the individual, but to a country, I mean, they blow it out on a daily basis.
May I ask about the Middle East, sir, about the Middle East? For months, even before you were elected in November, you've spoken about your desire to free all of those hostages that have been held by Hamas since October the 7th, a year and a half ago. And just a few weeks ago, you gave an ultimatum. You said if they're not all released by noon on February the 15th, there would be hell to pay. Is Hamas thumbing their nose at you, Mr. President?
No, I think the opposite. So, as you know, they weren't going to release any more hostages. And I said there's going to be hell to pay. And then they agreed that they were going to release the hostages that they had agreed to release, plus an extra one. And so that you could say that was a big difference. But I said it from that point, it's up to Bibi Netanyahu and Israel. I may have taken a different stance. But they did release, they went back to releasing the hostages. But if you remember, they said we weren't going to release any. They've totally ended it. And I said, well, they're not going to release any. They'll be held to pay. And but the rest is really up to him. What I may have done it differently than him. It's not my decision, it's his decision. But they did release all of those hostages. So.
Mr. President, when you spoke to Vladimir Putin, did he raise or did you discuss at all the possibility of a minerals deal on the Ukrainian land that Russia now controls?
I didn't discuss it, no. I'd like to buy minerals on Russian land too, if we can. The rare earth. Oh, yeah. They have very good rare earth also. They both do. I would say that. And oil and gas. Look, it's a great.
I mean, opening back up trade with these countries is not a bad idea at all. I mean, look, as much as you hate Russia, us trading with Russia is going to make things a little more cheaper, especially gas, especially energy prices. Believe it or not, we was getting 7% of our energy from Russia.
Thing, if we sell this, it's great for Russia too.
Before this,
because we can do deals there. They have very valuable land that isn't utilized. So something like that could take place. Yeah.
Have you put raising or lifting sanctions against Russia on the table? As your
no, we haven't lifted any sanctions on anybody.
On the table as part of any negotiation?
I guess it will be at some point, but right now we haven't agreed to lift sanctions on anybody.
On that gold card, getting back to that, I'm fascinated by this, Mr. President.
You should be fascinated by it. Your taxes will go down to nothing.
Would a Russian oligarch be eligible for a gold card?
Yeah, possibly. Hey, I know some.
See, on the table as part of any negotiation?
I guess it will be at some point, but right now we haven't agreed to lift sanctions on any.
All right, now, yeah, he's gonna have to get better details on this. Yeah, I'm confused. Like, I'm pretty sure all of us, left and right, can agree that, yo, we don't want people getting in here because they can afford to, my man. It's like, that's not what we want. Like, it's not about it's about American safety. So I'm not liking that unless we have like some type of background lookup of this person, or it's only their CEOs and executives and all that good stuff. Then maybe we can hear something out there. But we're talking about almost anybody who can pop up with $5 million and a nice story. Yeah, I don't like that. Like, I'm not going to
anybody
on that gold card. Getting back to that,
this ain't it.
Mr.
You should be fascinated by it. Your taxes will go down to nothing.
Would a Russian oligarch be eligible for a gold card?
Yeah, possibly. Hey, I know some Russian oligarchs that are very nice people. It's possible. They're not quite as wealthy as they used to be. They're not as wealthy as they used to be. I think they can afford. I think they can afford $5 million.
So
no, a lot of people are going to want to. A lot of people are going to want to be in this country, and they'll be able to work and provide jobs and build companies and pay taxes. All of those things. It's an incredible. It's an incredible thing. I mean, this is the group that is the first to hear it. Nobody's heard about it. Nobody ever thought about it. But
we're the first to hear it. But my brother, can you? I mean, dog, bro, he needs to lay out some details into this.
We've been thinking about it very, very strongly over the last week, and I was going to announce it sometime next week, and I figure, why not? We have a lot of cameras blazing right now. Might as well.
It's like, bro, this is like hearing. It's like low-key listening to one of your friends talking about a reckless night y'all about to have, and he's telling you about all the reckless shit he's about to do, but he's not really telling you on how he's about to get home or anything. It's like, it's concerning. It's like, hold on, bro. Like, yeah, like, I'm trying to follow you on this, but safety first here now.
Just well do it now. We'll have Caroline announce it the next time. No, it's a great thing. The gold card. Remember the words, the gold card. Somebody said, can we call it the Trump Gold Card? I said, if it helps, use the name Trump. I'll give it to you for free.
I like
Mr.
it.
President, you probably just launched 10,000 stories.
No facts. That's a good question. If I was in that room, I'd be like, hey, not even gonna lie. Well, what's the details on that? Because like everybody in this room can all agree that 5 million just to get somebody in here is crazy. So where's the questions? Why am I feel like I'm the only person asking this question?
So you want to elaborate a little bit more on what Russian oligarchs you know?
I know. Isn't it interesting how many stories we do tell? And they all turn out to be true, and they all turn out to be ultimately correct. Trump was right about everything. Do you have one of those Trump was right about everything hats? I'm going to give it to this gentleman. Get me one of them.
But they're all going to be vetted. Everybody who comes in gets vetted, okay? They get vetted, so you got to, we're going to begin in 2 weeks.
About 2 weeks. The sale will start in about 2 weeks.
Mr. President, do you see a more active role for Zelensky now, given the status?
I hope so.
And guys, like I've already stated, members, you guys are free to come up here and, because I love my members, yes, you can go ahead and bring somebody up here to debate with. So guest dude, Shmooly, if y'all want to have a quick little 15-minute back and forth, hey, I'm all for it. I'll go ahead and drop the link right now. We can have this conversation.
I mean, look, I think that we want to get that country back on its feet. And right now, it's been destroyed. And so here, give me this here. Give me all of them. Look.
Yes.
See that?
America.
Trump was right about everything. Just came in.
Freaking bro. It's like asshole, bro. This man's an ass. I love it though, because I ain't gonna lie to them the same thing, bro. If I was right about everything the way this man was, I would get a hat made too, bro. If I'm trying to make America great again, like this man was, I'd make a damn hat about it too. Like, I can't blame him if I'd have done the same thing. What can I say?
Somebody said, I said, this was sent in by a fan. I said, I think we should make some of them, right? But we were pretty much. You want one?
I'll pass.
Are you allowed to take one? Because he'll consider it. I know him well. He's sort of a stiff.
I said you're right.
Brian, you're not a stiff. He's sort of a stiff guy. He'll take other things, but not a free hat.
Always say yes to the president. Always say yes to the
Would
president.
anybody like one?
Mr. President, an easy question perhaps for you. Maybe it's difficult. I'm going to ask you this question about the.
Who do you work for?
I work for 2 news organizations.
Who?
I work for 2 news organizations.
Yeah, who are they?
I work for Gray Television, America's second largest broadcaster, and I work for iHeartRadio. So there you go. Let me ask you the easier, tough question, Mr. President. The Philadelphia Eagles won the Super Bowl. Are they being extended an invitation?
They will be. We haven't yet, but we will be. I thought it was a great performance by them. And absolutely, they'll be extended that invitation. Would you do that right away, by the way? We'll do it right away. We're going to do it sometime.
Let's go. Stamped it, because I ain't gonna lie, this was drama that did not need to be done. I'm like, bro, who cares? Like, a lot of sports teams have been doing this for boycotting the president meetup for a minute now. And at a certain point, it was just like, look, man.
We do not care.
Look, bro, y'all done bent the knee and complained about the white man into a point where we're now.
We do not care.
I mean, look, find something else to race bait about. And speaking of race baiters, let's get into Joy Reid. I mean, one of the best race baiters of our time. I mean, the most epic race baiter that has ever been. Shout out, Joy Reid.
About both white. In America, there's a thing about both white vigilantism and white tears, particularly male white tears.
I genuinely do not believe I wrote those hateful.
If you are a white straight male, you will be highly offended at these comments.
Thing about both white vigilantism and white tears, particularly male white tears.
I genuinely do not believe I wrote those hateful things, but I can definitely understand why some people don't believe me.
I got into Harvard only because of affirmative action, because unfortunately we do have a fascist groundswell among Black and brown men.
The elements of fascism are rooted in this nationalistic drive for more babies.
Missing white woman syndrome. Someone get up there and give a knuckle sandwich to Donald Trump. Trump was frankly MIA, or having a cheeseburger and a Coke while daddy was working. Presidency ages you when you do the job. Obama went gray because he was doing the work. Donald Trump looks the same as when he ran because he was playing golf.
Still don't know for sure whether Donald Trump was hit by a bullet.
There are many ways to cheat in an election. And I don't ever put it past Republicans to cheat in election. And if you're voting affirmatively, gleefully for this, people may not feel so confident in you anymore.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, cue the world's smallest violin. Joy Reid has been fired from MSDNC. These are her absolute worst takes that led to her show, The Readout, getting canceled. Here's Joy Reid in classic form telling the
Man, King, you know what, bro? I should get that press pass. Man, somebody send me the link, boy. I'll go ahead and sign that mug right now. Shoot, now I'm gonna go right to DC and start asking all the difficult questions because boy, they're gonna hate me. They gonna hate me, man. What, bro? Well, look, if y'all hate mainstream media, I mean, sure, I'm gonna be much worse. I'm not gonna ask you bullshit questions. I'm asking questions that nobody else want to ask that we all need the answer to.
lie that she and her party told for years about what's really motivating Trump supporters.
They're voting on race. They're voting on this idea of an invasion of brown people over the border. The idea that they can't get whatever job they want. A black person got it, therefore drive all the blacks out of the colleges, get rid of DEI. That is what they're voting on. They're just voting specifically on racial animus at this stage. It isn't about economics. No.
So according to Joy Reid, ending racial discrimination is...
I mean, now Joy Reid. They were letting in immigrants, and due to DEI, they was also turning away. I mean, let's say this: skillful white or Asian employees because of DEI. And well, you know what? Yeah. We're just gonna say DEI. Just stamp it on DEI. Most of these people got their jobs based on the whole DEI and affirmative action, and it's not right. It's not right, especially in the black community, because for some reason, us having lower standards became acceptable to the point we got people like Joe Reid saying that we should be happy that the white man gave us lower standards while also shit talking the white man. It's like, it really these libs confuse the hell out of me. It's like, F the white man, but they also have a white savior complex at the same damn time. It's like, it doesn't make sense.
Is racial discrimination. Okay, it only got worse from there. Remember when she told her audience that Trump was telling his supporters that these, quote, blacks are stealing the election and that they, quote, need to do violence to black people because they're cannibals?
It is calculated, right? I mean, Donald Trump isn't just a doddering fool who happens to be racist. He's a calculated person who is not trying to grow his vote share. He's trying to speak into the id of a particular kind of voter about when he says we have to call out Detroit, Philly, and Atlanta. We have to go into Philly, Detroit, Atlanta. He lost Pennsylvania, Georgia, and Michigan in 2020.
And shout out to my man Mark, just signing off with a baller alert, man. My man is balling out there in Australia. My mate. He says, and Mark says, bye everyone. Have a great night or morning and stay safe. Hey man, I'll see you, mate.
Which is how he lost.
Say that better. My mate.
The election. It's why he's under indictment for attempting to steal those races. What he's telling his voter, his small, his share of extreme MAGA voters, these blacks are stealing the election. Black Haitians are violent cannibals. Black people.
Bro, I mean, it's not really wrong to say it. Since currently in Haiti, they are kind of eating each other, and there is cannibalism going on. And this, sprinkle a little anarchy on top of that, and you got the current Haitian situation. It's like, yeah.
Are the enemy. Black people are going to be responsible if and when I lose, and you are permitted through my language to do violence to them if necessary to stop another peaceful transfer of power, because he understands that he is not winning the election.
But after years of maintaining that Trump was only receiving support among white voters, even though he had record high support among non-white voters, she finally went full TDS and accused black and brown Trump supporters of being fascists.
Have you noticed how sharply the polls have have shifted in Trump's favor over the last couple weeks, with these claims that Trump is surging with Black and Latino voters and leading in every single swing state, according to secret internal polls, despite all the Hitler talk. Yes, this race will be far too close because, unfortunately, we do have a fascist groundswell in parts of this country, mainly among white men, let's be clear, but in small pockets among Black and brown men, too. This happens to be a global phenomenon as women become more economically independent and seek positions of power.
So because women are economically independent, Black and brown men are now fascists. Nice.
Damn.
This one's truly a banger. Remember when Joy Reid equated the assassination attempt against Trump to Biden getting COVID?
The question that I have on that, these two men are both elderly. Donald Trump is an elderly man who, for whatever reason, was given 9 seconds to take
I gotta go back on that, guys. I gotta go back.
iconic
My
photo
bad,
op
guys.
during
My bad,
an
my bad.
active
The audio went off out of nowhere. I do not know how. But shout out my man Hellbat, man. He said your mic went out midway through that rant. Plus, just go to whitehouse.gov/new media to apply. Let's see you there. Hey, I got you, bro. I got you. I'm gonna go ahead and post the application in Discord. And my bad. I was going off a little bit, but hey, let's get back to the point.
Now fascists. Nice. This one's truly a banger. Remember when Joy Reid equated the assassination attempt against Trump to Biden getting COVID?
question that I have on that. These two men are both elderly. Donald Trump is an elderly man who, for whatever reason, was given 9 seconds to take a iconic photo op during an active shooter situation. Weird situation. We'll figure that out one day. But his survival of that and bouncing.
I would just say she should get sued the same way Alex Jones got sued for denying Sandy Hook is the same way some of these news publications, these news media centers or whatever you want to call them, news companies, they should get sued the same way Alex Jones did. Yo, you denied the shooting of a man who actually died at the Trump shooting. Bro, y'all denied it. Y'all saying, no, it didn't happen. It was all a plot. Bro, somebody actually freaking died. The fact that y'all ain't get hit with the Alex Jones treatment of $1 billion for y'all lying is crazy to me. I mean, y'all did it to Alex Jones. What about y'all? Oh, it's because the left did it. You know, they can say anything they want about people, and it's okay.
Right back and going right to his convention is being conveyed in the media world as a sign of strength. This current president of the United States is 81 years old and has COVID. Should he be fine in a couple of days? Doesn't that convey exactly the same thing? That he's strong enough, older than Trump, to have gotten something that used to really be fatal to people his age. So if he does fine out of it and comes back and is able to do rallies, isn't that exactly the same?
So Joy Reid called an assassination attempt against a presidential candidate an active shooter incident. And right after this, she denied that Trump was even shot.
We still don't know for sure whether Donald Trump was hit by.
Now, if anybody knows the family of that man that got shot, send this to her and tell them that, yo, you better sue Joy Reid for $1 billion. And I know what y'all thinking. Y'all like, damn, is that $1 billion? I'm like, yes, $1 billion. And don't stop until you get everything, every single dollar. Because that's what they did to Alex Jones, and y'all deserve the same thing. I mean, look, they denied that man's death. They denied your family member's death. The same way that Alex Jones got sued for that, for defamation, you should be able to sue Joy Reid. Honestly, all of MSNBC and CNN. Honestly, y'all should be up like a couple billion at the end of y'all campaign.
A bullet, whether he was hit by glass fragments, whether he was hit by shrapnel. We don't have those details. We actually.
Oh, crap. My bad, Zoloff. Oh, okay, yeah, that's why. Okay, yeah, shout out my man Zoloff. He says, shout out Joy Reid. Congrats on the career change. Hey, yo. Oh, shit. I'm sorry, but no, that's an asshole statement. He's like, yeah, congratulations on the career change at home. Nobody got to hear your ass, or at least until you come in with your own damn podcast. And at that point, oh man, I can only imagine how that's gonna be. Oof. And I always just say, but you can never trust a black woman with bald head. I'm like, with a bald head or a low down cut with blonde hair, bro. This is just let you know you're just in for nothing but hard times, stressful days, and infidelity. I know, right? You're like, damn, infidelity too. Yep, you know.
Actually have no detail from his physician, even though this man is still a Secret Service protected, and president.
Man, shout out my man Hellbat for letting me know I missed Zoloff's super chat. He's like, you missed Zoloff's super chat, by the way. I liked her. All right, I like turtles. Yes. I like turtles too. The small ones.
Presidential candidate. We knew almost nothing. Why? Why don't we know that much?
So it was an active shooter incident that didn't involve bullets. But at least we can agree on one thing. Why don't we know more about what happened? Why was the intelligence community of the most powerful and wealthy nation on earth not able to crack into a 21-year-old's WhatsApp account? Yeah, you know what? I'm in agreement with you there. And then remember, after the second assassination attempt against Trump, Joy Reid called for violence against him.
And so I think that the people who want the fist fight are the base of the Democratic Party. Democrats want to see.
I'm weak. Why does Reid low-key look? Why does Reid low-key look like Key's mom? I'm weak. It's a stern face. I ain't even gonna lie. Hey, shout out Mama Key.
Someone get up there and give a knuckle sandwich to Donald Trump. That's what they want.
Not long after that classic gaffe, she then projected her violent fantasies onto Trump, saying that Trump will get the military to shoot citizens protesting after the election.
Remember, Mark Esper, who was Donald Trump's Secretary of Defense for a while, told him, no, you cannot shoot American citizens. You can't have the military shoot American citizens. He's going to replace people in the Department of Defense with people who will say you can, and that you can deploy the military against protesters, that you can arrest journalists for reporting things that Donald Trump doesn't like, that sort of thing, right?
I guess all those people at the Tesla dealership better watch out. The military's coming for you. And this is one of my absolute favorites. After years of calling Trump an insurrectionist for not accepting the official result of the 2020 election, Joy Reid, while slamming multiple glasses of wine, suffered a mental collapse on air and accused Trump of stealing the election from Kamala.
They're even talking about like stealing an election.
Oh,
and
yeah.
it's making me rethink whether I do believe like election machines can be hacked. Because I've always been like, you can't.
I mean, so now you can believe it. Oh, now that you believe it, now that y'all the losers. Now that, maybe the election can be stolen. Now that I've lost. It's a real coming to Jesus moment right there.
Can't hack the election machines, but they're like convincing me. I don't know. Maybe you can. I don't know.
I mean, to me, in this world, anything is possible.
Anything is possible.
There are all these conspiracy theories out there about Trump and whether or not they cheated. I know you say that they didn't, but I know you kind of have.
Wait a minute. I didn't say they didn't. What I said is, there is a rational explanation for why Kamala Harris could have lost those swing states and Trump won them. There's a way you can get to those numbers with people staying home or only voting for Trump and not the rest.
The only rational explanation for Kamala losing that bad, losing all 7 swing states, is because she was just that bad of a candidate. That's the only explanation that can be heard or honestly made sense of. Anything else is just pure delusion.
About. I'm saying there's a history of that. However,
let me hear it, because
what I will say is there was absolute voter suppression that took place, and I consider that
the turnout was actually record high. But don't let reality stand in your way.
So
what I'm talking about are these conspiracy theories about Elon Musk, somehow using his tech connections, because I don't want to say genius because we know he's not.
Yeah, he ain't a genius.
But those relationships or whatever, because they just seem too confident. And I know, and I'm not saying it was the voting machines or whatever. It just doesn't add up to me with all the support that she had. And I know that for you, and because of what have Fox and what you do professionally with the network, you can't say it was the machines or something like that. But if you think it was the machines, but can't say, just don't say anything. See, this is what I'm saying.
I'm not saying anything. All I'm saying is there are many ways to cheat in an election. And I don't ever put it past Republicans to cheat in elections because they've been busted too many times.
So her sister's making the point that, of course, the network wouldn't support her accusing Trump of stealing the election. So her hands are sort of tied. She's not able to explicitly say it, but she comes as close as possible right here. By the way, I love how she's such a race huckster that she can't even be in the off hours, not wearing makeup. She's at home. She's just chilling. And she's still wearing a hoodie that says melanin on it. It's just like everything's about race with this person. But Joy Reid's comments about the election were particularly hilarious because she called the Kamala Harris campaign flawless for a reason that might surprise you.
And somebody needs to tell Joy Reid, bro, Joy Reid should have been went bald. Like when your hairline start doing this is what happens when you do nothing but hate. This is what happens. You lose hair. You lose it all just disappears, right? So please, guys, stop all that hating today if you want to keep that long hair of yours. It could happen to you. All you need to do is just start hating like her.
I mean, this really was an historic, flawlessly run campaign. Queen Latifah never endorses anyone. She came out and endorsed. She had every prominent celebrity voice. She had the Taylor Swift, she had the Swifties, she had the Beehive. Like, you could not have run a better campaign in that short period of time. And I think that's still true.
So the Harris campaign actually went broke from overpaying washed up celebrities for paid endorsements. Yet Joy Reid thought celebrities should have convinced Americans to do as they're told, and that the celebrity endorsements was the reason why it was a flawless campaign. You can't make this stuff up. Also, I just want to note that Taylor Swift actually didn't come out to any of these rallies. I'm sure she was invited. I'm sure they tried to pay her. And remember how Kathy Griffin actually tried to blame Taylor Swift for Kamala Harris losing the election. Hilarious. This is one of my absolute favorites. Remember when Joy Reid went from saying that Trump is a maniacal dictator, she said it for years and years and years, to immediately reversing course and calling Trump Elon Musk's hapless puppet.
Mark Milley was his Joint Chiefs of Staff chair. John Kelly was his chief of staff. He now wants to put those same people before a firing squad, because the moment the autocrat is displeased with you, no matter how loyal you've been in the past, it doesn't matter. Stephen Miller feels safe now, but let him look at Donald Trump sideways one day and he'll be the one Donald Trump is saying should be before a firing squad. Trump looked like he was following Musk's commands. He doesn't just own Trump, he owns every single elected Republican in Washington. Sweet deal for a government contractor who's ineligible to actually be president himself.
Here's the thing though, they can never substantiate that. It's all fear mongering. It's all a way to divide the party up and be like, oh, Elon, this is what they want to do in the conservative side. They want to be like, have us going like, well, Elon got too much power. They're kind of right. And then us going like, no, he's just trying to help. They're trying to have us do infighting. And it's not working. We're just honestly seeing how far they're willing to reach just to honestly make themselves look stupid. Or just to make, Donald Trump and Elon look like the bad guy. This is how far they're willing to go for it. And I'm going to be real with you, it is downright entertaining. I'll give it to him. It's like every time, man, every damn time. Like, come on.
No one elected Trump was frankly MIA, or maybe sunning himself on the patio at Mar-a-Lago, having a cheeseburger and a Coke while daddy was working.
But Joy Reid never actually tried to make sense because her viewers also suffer from stage 4 Trump derangement syndrome. Remember when she said that Trump is a crazy dictator, but that he's also lazy and didn't do anything? That's why he looks so good and he didn't go gray like Obama.
Donald Trump had one job. He had one crisis. He's saying, oh, all of these things were perfect. You had one crisis, bruh. It was called a pandemic. And you know what you did? You bollocksed it completely. You did so poorly at managing your sole crisis. The one hard thing you do, the reason he doesn't look old like Biden looks older, the presidency ages you when you do the job. Obama went gray because he was doing the work. Donald Trump looks the same as when he...
Or, he was costing millions of people their lives just so we can get cheap oil. That could also be a reason to go gray. Guilt. He also could have went gray because he was allegedly hiding his sexuality. Not really being yourself is a very stressful life, is it not? That could be causes for, that would cause gray hairs for sure. There's a lot of reasons Obama went gray.
He ran because he was playing golf the whole time. His one job
you think
was
that
to
hair
manage.
color's natural?
But the reality is, he had one job: manage this crisis, and he messed it up so badly that they had to do the stimmy. People love the stimmy. Why did they have to do the stimmy? Because 1 million bodies are in the ground.
It was
because of how poorly he managed an airborne virus.
Wait, so Trump did do the stimulus after all? I thought Jasmine Crockett just said he didn't, and it was the Democrat-controlled Congress. By the way, just a quick digression on that. It was actually Nancy Pelosi that held up the final stimulus, promising it to Americans after the election. Of course, they reneged on that once Biden took office. So they actually held back stimulus from American people. But again, I digress. But this is besides the point. How can you be lazy and a dictator? Do you start to build gulags and then just give up on the construction like the high-speed rail in California? Also, notice Joy Reid's blonde Trump-like wig. She wore it for a long time. Someone actually confronted her about it on the street in New York City.
Do you think people with Trump derangement syndrome know they have it?
You're an idiot.
And second question, did you steal Trump's haircut or did he steal yours?
Yep.
Cultural appropriation haircut right there.
Yeah, it is funny though. Like I said, the libs be the funniest people who want to talk about white people and all that, because I'm like, y'all be the same people who are wearing blonde hair though. But you want to talk about black people and all this good stuff and black power, but you have on a blonde wig. Okay, but you want to talk about black people. Okay.
She didn't like that too much.
But this is a significant firing. We'll get into it at the end. I'll tell you my thoughts on it at the end. But Joy Reid has been the openly racist spokesperson for the Democrat Party for quite some time now. She once even said that she only got into Harvard because of a DEI program.
Well, let me just be clear. I got into Harvard only because of affirmative action. I went to a school no one had ever heard of in Denver, Colorado, in a small suburb. I didn't go to Exeter or Andover. I didn't have college test prep. I just happened to be really nerdy and smart and have really good grades and good SAT scores.
But you dumbass. Sweetheart, that's the reason why you got into Harvard. It wasn't because you were black. It's because you were honestly smart. I mean, and let's be real. I can believe it. I can believe you were a smart lady, but you just been radicalized. That's all. That's all. Completely radicalized. Like, ain't no saving this one. Oh, we got over 100 y'all here, man. Do me a favor. Double tap that screen or the 3 dots up there in the corner. And if you, yes, you right there, have any any question, comments, jokes, $2 and up, we'll go ahead and read it out loud and post to the top of the chat. Any video suggestions? $5 for members, $10 for non-members. Let's go.
Someone came to Denver, Colorado to look for me. A Harvard recruiter flew to Denver, and I met up with her at the Village Inn restaurant and did a pre-interview to get to pull me into Harvard. I was pulled in, and the schools like Harvard and Yale that I got into affirmatively. Yes. And it was literally not saying we're going to take an unqualified person and put them in Harvard. Yes. We're going to take a very qualified person who we would never.
Then you wouldn't qualify as an affirmative action. Wouldn't qualify as DEI. Like, you don't get it. She don't get the argument. She's thinking that, oh, well, just because we bring up DEI, we're talking about, oh, well, we just don't want people of different colors in white spaces or whatever. Or, this is how she would frame it, of course. So it is a bit weird. I don't think she gets it. I don't think she honestly gets what this whole affirmative action argument is based on. Because she didn't talk about nothing about lowering standards or anything. She just made it about, oh, well, just because they're trying to let in more black or Hispanic people, man, y'all mad about it, makes y'all racist. I'm like, no, it's the fact that they lowered the standards for these people, and these people end up failing out because they lowered the standards, and it was pretty much a waste of their damn money, and they could have had a better college experience if they was just to go to the college they actually tested into.
Never know existed and put them in Harvard. That's how I got there. That's how Ketanji got there. That's how Justice Jackson, I should say. Justice Jackson got there. It's how Clarence Thomas got there. Right. But the minute So
DEI was just like affirmative action on steroids. Obviously, the biggest issue with affirmative action is that it doesn't help poor and working class Black Americans. It just enriches a small percentage of already middle class or affluent individuals to help schools and corporations achieve the right optics. It doesn't reverse inequality at all. And obviously, she was middle class, surrounded by wealthy people at Harvard. More poor and working class kids should get the chance to go to a nice school without being rich, regardless of your skin color. This is something she doesn't understand because she's racist and she reduces everyone and everything to skin tones. But this is truly the end of an era. No one can come close to spewing as many vile, racist, and hate-filled rants as Joy Reid. Here's Joy Reid saying that no one should care about her victim, Gabby Petito, because she was white.
If you've been watching the news for the past few days or on Twitter or TikTok, you're probably familiar with the name Gabby Petito, the 22-year-old aspiring social media influencer who was reported missing after her fiance returned from their van life excursion without her. On Sunday, human remains believed to be Petito's were found in a national park in Wyoming. An autopsy is scheduled for tomorrow to confirm the identity. Now, it goes without saying that no family should ever have to endure that kind of pain, and the Petito family certainly deserves answers and justice. But the way this story has captivated the nation has many wondering, why not the same media attention when people of color go missing? Well, the answer actually has a name: missing white woman syndrome.
If you thought that was bad, here's Joy Reid calling Justice Clarence Thomas of the Supreme Court an Uncle Tom.
If somehow they manage to stumble into the Supreme Court, do any of you guys trust Uncle Clarence and Amy Coney Barrett and those guys to actually follow the letter of the law? No. I mean, it is a completely politicized Supreme Court that you can't just trust that they're going to do the right thing.
Calling other Black Americans an Uncle Tom simply because you disagree with their viewpoint and their policy.
I mean, hey, welcome to the Black community, baby girl. That's all what happens here is you get called for thinking outside the box. Yes, and then they wonder why they think Black people's a fucking monolith, because we judge each other for thinking outside the box. That's why when white people mostly see us, they think that we're liberal retards sometimes, because our own community has made us a goddamn monolith. It's like, oh, I'm Black, so I must be a liberal by default, and I'm an automatic race baiter. Nothing is outside of race. Everything's about skin color. And if anything bad happens to me, I'm just gonna blame it on, well, skin color, not my own personal character. It can never be me.
Politics is blatant racism, full stop. Every individual, regardless of their skin color, has the freedom of conscience. They get to believe and think whatever they want. That's what our Constitution says. For someone who goes on about Trump trying to shred the Constitution constantly, you'd think she'd know that. But she didn't just do this against Republicans. She did it against Democrats as well. Remember how she talked about Senator Mark Kelly?
And I thought she would go astronaut, keeping it real. He, to me, would have been the safest, most conventionally safe pick. White, super white, like, mayonnaise sandwich on Wonder Bread, right? From a border state, he could have made a strong argument for her.
So this is after Kamala Harris chose Tim Walz as her running mate instead of Senator Mark Kelly. Joy Reid obviously preferred Kamala Harris to pick Mark Kelly, thinking that Americans are just so evil and racist, apparently including the Democrat base, and she couldn't even talk him up without bringing race into it and insulting him. But that's not even the worst of it. Remember how she and fellow race huckster Michael Eric Dyson talked about Winsome Sears? Winsome Sears is a Black woman and the lieutenant governor of Virginia.
They want white supremacy by ventriloquist effect. There is a black mouth moving, but a white idea through the running on the runway of the tongue of a figure who justifies and legitimates the white supremacist practices.
Of the white supremacy look, and this what kills me. Like people who are race baiters, Tariq Nasheed, is like as soon as you disagree with them, you're for white supremacy. I'm like, bro, make that make sense. You're pretty much saying that I favor white people over my own because I disagree with you, or I favor white people over my own because I think that Black people shouldn't get reparations and they should actually have to work to honestly free their people, to free their own community financially. I'm just such a white supremacist. I'll take that one to the chin if that's really what it means. All right.
Want white supremacy by
shout out my man Paradigm Shift sending in $1. Appreciate the support, my man.
So any Black American that does not openly affiliate with the Democrat Party, the party of slavery, the party of Jim Crow, by the way, then they are a white supremacist. Okay. Remember this banger, her infamous comment on white tears?
In America, there's a thing about both white vigilantism and white tears, particularly male white tears. Really white tears in general, because that's what Karens are, right? They can't.
Wow. I mean, damn. White tears are Karens. So as soon as a white person start crying, we shouldn't care why, because they're just Karens. It's like, bro, here's the thing though. Why are we dehumanizing white people? Why are we making it seem like these people do not deserve to be treated as regular people? Like, it does not make sense.
Karen out, and then as soon as it get caught, it's green waterworks. White men can get away with that too. And it has the same effect, even as the right tries to politicize the idea.
Yes, the Dems started the KKK.
That masculinity is being robbed from American men by multiculturalism and wokeism. They still want to be able to have their tears.
For those who don't know, this was after Kyle Rittenhouse was acquitted of all charges after shooting his assailants in self-defense. All of them were white, by the way. Rittenhouse was 17 years old.
Yo, and I remember that Kyle Rittenhouse thing, bro. Why were they trying to frame it? I promise you, this is what they did. They tried to frame it as if he shot a Black man and got away with it. That's literally what they were saying. I literally had to go online and look up the facts because I was outraged. I was like, yo, he got away with shooting a Black man, he's getting off? No, I found out that he shot 2 people or 3 or 2 people who attacked him, and then they weren't even freaking Black. They were white. White. Oh, shit. There was no race crime. It was a made-up race crime. That the libs wanted to push so they can push against the Second Amendment. Ain't that wild? But nice try, though. I'll give it to y'all.
Old, and one of his assailants was a convicted offender for crimes against a minor. Of course, Joy Reid was one of the people to lie about Kyle Rittenhouse and imply that his assailants were Black. Then we have this truly deranged take after the election where she encouraged families to break apart over Trump's victory.
People are rightfully alarmed. They have a reason to be alarmed. And if you would vote for that, people may not feel so confident that they're safe with you. This is not crazy. This is legitimate feelings of fear of you and a feeling that you might not be someone they could trust if this thing goes way south. Autocracies go south.
I mean, I know one thing you can trust for me voting for Trump. I got some common sense. Like, I know that. I know one thing you can say about me about voting for Trump is that I ain't 100% LGBTQIA plus plus plus. There's a lot of things you could tell about somebody, you know, who voted for Trump. I mean, shoot, let's be real. You know I'm pro-American because I voted for Trump.
Real fast, and things get ugly, and people get asked to do things and turn people in and point people out.
And shout out Paradigm Shift. He says, check out Stanford PhD Web3 project, the Pi Network. Okay. Okay, so we're talking about the crypto. We're talking about the blockchain.
Out and
well, hold on. Is Web3 Castro, Web3 part of the blockchain, or is that something completely different?
On them.
Like cancel culture?
And if you're voting affirmatively, gleefully for
and shout out Paradigm Shift, man. I appreciate the support, my friend. And shout out, hey, I think I've seen you super chat in before, but either way though, happy to have you here, man. Happy to have you here.
This, people might, I don't know, may not feel so confident in you anymore. That's real, and you kind of have to live with it. So if you think that you can vote for what people see as their destruction and then demand that they still are cool with you and kiki with you and have Thanksgiving with you, like, I think you're kind of missing the point of what people are upset about. They're afraid. And autocracy and fascism are things that are legitimate to be afraid of.
As if the Democrat Party and the establishment's lies about Trump the past 8 years haven't wrought enough destruction and divisiveness in not just America, actually around the world as well. This is right before Thanksgiving, and she's encouraging families not to hang out together based on how they voted. Wow, I wonder why she got fired. Remember Joy Reid's infamous flip-flop after Joe Biden pardoned his son, Hunter Biden?
The presidential pardon was originally meant to grant the president the power to temper justice with mercy. It was not enshrined in our Constitution so that a dishonorable man could reward his criminal allies, friends, and family for their corrupt practices. I don't have a problem with
Salacious. That's what I'm saying, bro. I'm so surprised that they fired her right now. I'm not surprised they fired her, but I'm so surprised that she never got hit with a defamation lawsuit. Like, bro, all the defamating things she said, all the salacious lies she said on TV and gotten away with, I can see why MSNBC fired her, because they knew it was only a matter of time. Like, this woman has said so much I'm gonna be real with you, things that are on the line of defamation that almost there's so many people that could take this woman to court. So many people. I remember I brought up the example of the guy who the family of the guy who died at the Trump rally. Like, that's one great point of somebody who can come up and be like, yeah, I'm suing you for your life because of defamation. There's the criminal family of Donald Trump. Bro, one of the Trump family members. I'm not a criminal. You're slandering my name. Yo, stop that. Cease and desist. So I can see why MSNBC fired Joy Reid, because she became a liability, a legal one.
With Biden pardoning his son, he should have pardoned them. The crazies are coming, right? But to me, it's like, pardon more.
What's up is down, what's left is right. There's no meaning to anything she says. The people that Trump pardoned in his administration were the victims of lawfare. But remember that Trump never issued a single preemptive pardon. Biden sure did. Did she admit that? Obviously not. Remember when Joy Reid said that wanting to have babies and start a family is fascism?
I do believe that this election is a litmus test for American tolerance for fascism. The elements of fascism are rooted in this nationalistic drive for more babies for the state.
We got about close to 200 y'all in here, man. I appreciate the support, by the way. But go ahead and double tap that screen, like the video, or the 3 dots up there in the corner. I appreciate the support. And if you have any questions, comments, jokes, $2 and up, we'll go ahead and post it to the top of the screen, just like my man Paradigm Shift. Man, hey, appreciate the support, my man. Let's keep it going.
State for a strong man-driven nation and a deep sort of state-based religiosity.
How dare people actually want to have family? How dare them want to have jobs that pay enough so that you could even support a family? Everyone should just be working till they die.
I mean, come on now. The libs, the Democratic Party is the home of the dinks. And what was the dinks? Man, I'm trying to remember. It was something about like dual income, no kids. That's what it was. Dual income, no kids. Dinks. It was literally libs who bragged about having 2 incomes, being able to afford stuff, but having no kids. And then it was all on the premise of them bragging that they can afford more things than more things for themselves, the selfish bastards, than they can within a couple with kids. I was like, so you're pretty much bragging that you two are both selfish bastards and we should all be like you? Huh, funny.
have jobs that pay enough so that you could even support a family. Everyone should just be working till they die. And remember when Joy Reid quit X, formerly known as Twitter, simply because the platform was refusing to continue censoring conservatives.
Hey guys, so today I finally did something I've been meaning to do for a while. And the reason for doing it and kissing goodbye my 1.9 million followers over there is because I hadn't been posting for a long time. I just didn't want to contribute content once it was purchased by its present owner. But just having it there, I was only holding on to it because I, really didn't want someone trying to take over that name and using it for nefarious purposes. I was a little bit worried about that. And also every so often I would use it to just sort of look at news that was trending and what's happening. And I would just sort of use it as an aggregator. But I just realized that's not really worth it, because in order to do the news aggregation and just look at all, you have to wade through a lot of dreck and a lot of just abuse and a lot of just negativity, and it's just not worth it.
Yeah, you have to see a viewpoint that's different from your own. I know it must hurt your eyes, but make no mistake, Joy Reid really loves censorship. Here she is defending it.
Why would conservatives think fact-checking is biased against them? I mean, what are you sharing if you keep getting fact-checked for false information? Think about it. What were conservatives sharing on Meta that was getting flagged so much? Are they spreading?
Pretty much telling all the truths about the vaccines and everything. Yeah, spreading all the truths about the vaccines and everything else, or a certain situation that was going down. I mean, yeah, that's what they were getting fact-checked on. It wasn't really fact-checked. It was kind of like, man, look, you may be telling the truth, but we're going to put a blanket over it. We're going to take it down, and then we're going to say that we're fact-checking you. It's like, really? If you're fact-checking me, then please show me where in these, medical documents, where in these medical procedures that am I saying this was wrong? They don't really fact-check you. They just tell you that you're wrong, and then that's it. And here's the thing. When you're on a social media platform, they don't even got to tell you why you're wrong. They can just take it off and just say, F you. I just feel like you're wrong.
False information.
And now for the final juicy receipt. Remember when Joy Reid lied about hackers with time machines faking her tweets?
A community that I support and that I deeply care about is hurting because of some despicable and truly offensive posts being attributed to me. And many of you have seen these blog posts circulating online and in social media. Many of them are homophobic, discriminatory, and outright weird and hateful. When a friend found them in December and sent them to me, I was stunned. Frankly, I couldn't imagine where they'd come from or whose voice that was. In the months since, I've spent a lot of time trying to make sense of these posts. I hired cybersecurity experts to see if somebody had manipulated my word or my former blog. And the reality is they have not been able to prove it. But here's what I know. I genuinely do not believe I wrote those hateful things because they are completely alien to me. But I can definitely understand, based on things I have tweeted and have written in the past, why some people don't believe me. I've not been exempt from being dumb or cruel or hurtful to the very people I want to advocate for. I own that. I get it. And for that, I am truly, truly sorry.
So there's a couple bangers in there. She says cybersecurity experts were not able to find any evidence that the tweets were fraudulent, which is a fancy way of saying that they were her tweets. It was her blog. And then she says, I genuinely do not believe that I wrote them. So they were essentially homophobic tweets. Apparently she mocked homosexuality. She claimed to out people as gay. I guess she called Senator Lindsey Graham Miss Lindsey. So she called him a woman. And then she called Ann Coulter a man. She also called Congressman Charlie Crist Miss Charlie. This is all before 2010 when it was kind of a hack joke to just call a man a woman as an insult. But apparently she also made the post on Twitter, quote, most straight people cringe at the sight of two men kissing. And another post that said, I didn't want to watch the two male characters in Brokeback Mountain having sex. Does that make me homophobic? Probably. She was basically making jokes and statements that sound like a jock or bro humor back in the day. But it really speaks to her character or lack thereof that she couldn't simply own it. But I just want to say one last thing. Remember this moment in history. Joy Reid getting fired after years of accusing the diverse American public of racism, while herself spewing the most vile racism since the Jim Crow era, means the tide is finally turning. Joy Reid.
And oh, what a good thing. Now let's get a little comedic interlude real quick. Shout out to this little cartoon that one of our supporters sent in the chat. Let's see. I think this might have been Dave. But all right, let's get to it.
Last show, MSNBC decided to cancel it because they don't realize how much my show has to offer. Like, how will white people know how racist and misogynist they are if I don't tell them every day? Anyway, joining me is another victim of oppression, Don Lemon.
Thanks, Joy. I don't know what you're upset about. There's no way you're as oppressed as I am. After all, I'm black and gay. According to the hierarchy, I'm one tier more oppressed than you.
Don, that's ridiculous. Obviously, I'm more oppressed than you because I'm black and have a Mickey in my pants. You're black and gay, but you're a man. And being a man canceled out the gay.
I didn't realize I was talking to Jim Crow. Being black and gay makes me way more oppressed than you.
But you don't have a Mickey in your pants. Man, I wish there was some way we could settle this.
Oh, what is happening? Where are we? Who abducts a black and gay man? What is this? Jim Crow teleporting?
I'm Joy Reid, and this is my last.
I'm crying. All right. That was actually funny. But all right, though, let's get over to the more serious side of things, man. To the press conference that was pretty much had today. Or actually, you know what? Let's go into a less political. We're gonna go into this Charlie Kirk debate that went down today.
Opportunity won't wait. Don't miss your chance to own the metal powering the.
Don't worry, we're gonna get political, but let's take a little break from it. We just got through Trump signing executive orders. Let's ease our way back into the serious mode. And shout out my man Daniel Castro. He says, I love how they are worried about jobs when they kicked all of these people out of there because an unelected Fauci and who tried to infringe on us a shot mandate they profited from. Music requests incoming. Appreciate the support, my man. Gotcha.
Tech revolution. Silver isn't just.
Shout out my man Daniel Castro and the rest of the supporters and the members, man. Appreciate y'all. And we, wouldn't be here without y'all guys. And also, I am going to start reading out super thanks as well on stream. So if you missed the stream, hey, man, I know it life be lifing. You can still go ahead and go to one of our clips, shorts, and you can send a super thanks to support the channel. You don't even got to be on stream to support the channel. And I'll still go ahead and read out your support or your super chat or super thanks. So shout out to Jessie 2.0, who was in the Discord earlier today. She said, thanks from Jessie 2.0. Can't always catch you guys live, but still love the show. And she said it with her heart. Oh, that just touched my heart, guys. That just touched my heart. That hits me right here, Jessie. All right, let's keep it going, guys. And on to the next video.
Shiny, it's indispensable. It fuels clean energy, drives electric vehicles, and powers cutting-edge tech innovation. Here's the catch. Global demand is skyrocketing, but supplies are dwindling. Visit.
Nice to meet you, Charlie.
Powers progress, and progress powers your profit. Go to noblegoldinvestments.com.
Nice to meet you, Charlie. I'm a big fan. I think you're very beautiful, man. I admire you physically. But no homo. I did have a question.
Wait, what did he say? Oh, man, I ain't gonna lie. Look, guys, when these trolls come in here, if you want to know what they look like, this is what they look like. If you want to know what these trolls look like in real life, this is what they look like. Joe, I'm talking to you. I'm just playing, Joe.
Big fan. I think you're very beautiful, man. I admire you physically. But no homo. I did have a question. Something I don't find very interesting about you, something I find kind of repulsive, is that I believe you said that the Civil Rights Act was bad and that we shouldn't have that.
Okay. Well,
thank you. I appreciate that. I don't like you as much as Charlie, though.
First of all, what's your name?
Sorry. I don't want to be like filmed and stuff.
Too late.
I'm anonymous, number one. Anonymous guy.
Okay. Well, hello. Nice to meet you, anonymous guy.
Thank you. Nice to meet you, too.
Yeah. I believe in part of the essence of the Civil Rights Act went way too far, way too wide.
Oh, how did it go too far?
Well, for example, it created an entire civil rights leviathan that gave us affirmative action.
Civil rights leviathan? What do you mean?
Yeah, so if you can let me finish three words in.
Sorry.
It allowed the Department of Justice to go after people that have different skin color, aka white people, and prevent them from getting jobs in college admissions.
You have a job.
I'm sorry?
You have a job.
No, you're right. I do. Right. But just until Trump came around, until the Supreme Court decision, thanks to the Civil Rights Act, if you have white skin color, it's much harder to get into a college than if someone has black skin color. Much harder. You have to get higher test scores. It's a much harder pool, largely thanks to the precedent set by the Civil Rights Act, not to mention all the trans stuff, and they use the Civil Rights Act to justify it.
Okay, I think I see where you're coming from. So you think that it's harder for white people because black people they could have lower tech scores. I get them.
It's not what I think. It's
okay.
the fact.
That's what you're saying. Okay. All right. Well, I guess what I would say too. I think perhaps you're familiar with the term equity, right? Where different people have different circumstances,
it's
which leads to
Marxism.
different outcomes.
I reject.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, whether you reject it or not, I think it's a prescient concept in this argument because what you have to understand is that when you're, for example, you're born in like a black neighborhood, you're born in like O Block or something like a very like a. Oh, you don't know what O Block is? Oh. Well, if you're born there, if you're born in a very poor area like that, with like very low opportunity,
how the hell does this kid know about O Block? All right, guys. If you know what O Block is, one of the most dangerous hoods in Chicago. It is referenced throughout many rap songs made by Chicago rappers. Yes, it is one of those blocks. If members of O Block, Chief Keef, I believe Little Durk, and Vaughn, Little Vaughn or Young Vaughn or whatever the guy's name was. But yes, those are people who are from O Block, the very, very dangerous neighborhood or projects that he's referencing. Yeah.
very, very poor schools with very low ratings, where the average test score is much lower. When you're in that environment, you have the whole system up against you, right? So
King Vaughn. Okay, yeah.
So when you say in that kind of circumstance, when you're facing the whole, I guess, leviathan of systemic racism, so would you say that's sorry, let me just finish. When you say it's fair to, for example, lower the standard because knowing that their circumstances were like that, perhaps based on what they had was presented to them, they had the correct amount of merit to get into a school.
Okay, so are you a student here? I'm guessing you are.
Oh, yeah, I'm a student here.
Are you a pretty good student?
Oh, yeah, I would say I'm a good student. I have a pretty high GPA.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you give your GPA to her because she's a woman of color, please?
Oh, well, you want me to give you a... Well, I mean, I can.
Would you be willing to do that?
Yeah, sure, yeah.
All right, so because she's a woman of color in affirmative action, you're going to do all that girl's homework so she can have the same GPA as you because you're somewhat racist and you don't even think she can really do it herself. I mean, that's what y'all are implying with affirmative action. I mean, honestly, affirmative action is implying racism at a certain point because you're saying, well, we don't believe that your people are good enough to do it, so we'll lower the bar for you. We'll lower it for you guys. You know, I don't know if I could take that one. I don't know if I'd want that.
You'd be good. You cool with that?
Yeah, I'm fine. Wait,
I want you.
Like, tell her or like give it to her?
By force.
Like
so
we're swapping.
Let me tell you what I'm gonna do. By force, white man.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm gonna take your GPA. I'm gonna give it to a woman of color.
Okay.
You're cool with that?
I mean, yeah, I can just work back up. Like,
there's no working back up.
I can pull myself up by my bootstraps.
No, there's no working back up.
What do you mean you can't work back up? That's the whole point of conservatism, isn't it?
I'm gonna keep on taking it from you because that's equity, and you're cool with that.
What? But that's not.
This is equity in practice.
Equity isn't taking. Equity is applying the equal standard.
If you give, how do you get? You must take, and then you give.
Wait, what do you mean?
That which is given must first be taken.
Well, what's being taken?
Boy, like the law of equal exchange, bro. You got to put in to get something out. It's like that's just how it works. You don't get nothing. You don't get something for nothing. That's literally what he's talking about, my friend. Like, it's crazy that you're having a brain fart at this moment because it's going against your ideals. But man, we got 200 plus y'all in here, man. Shout out, man. Make sure y'all subscribe to the channel and hey, double tap that screen for me. Appreciate it.
Well, in this case, grades from you to grades to her.
No one's taking my grades though. That's not what affirmative action is.
Hold on a second.
No one takes your grades.
Hold on a second. If you only have so many, you only have so many positions at University of South Florida to come in, right? There's a set number. Let's say it's 20,000 people, okay? And we're going to say we're going to lower the test standards so that somebody that's a woman of color can...
You know, it's crazy, though. I know a lot of smart people that honestly think like this. They're not dumb people. Like, look, they sound stupid, but they're not dumb, okay? This is what we got to get about some of these lives. Like, they may sound stupid, but they are not dumb people. They can articulate themselves. They read, they write, and they're probably pretty damn good at it. The problem is, though, is that they just have a very off ideology or an ideology that just makes them feel comfortable about, honestly, either lacking in some area or just being an overall piece of shit. I mean, come on now. Like, I'll give you one example. Look, liberalism protects women who think it's okay to dehumanize babies. That's liberalism. I mean, liberalism protects a lot more crazier things, but that's the best one I can think of off the top of my head.
And come in. And therefore, it's harder for you. So it's a higher bar for you, lower bar for them. Definitionally, that's a redistribution of test scores to somebody else, just by the definition. And you're okay with that?
Well, I guess I would ask then, if we were to do what you're doing, I guess that's what's happening under Trump, right?
Well, no, it's actually been happening the last 40 years.
Okay, actually, yeah, whatever. Okay, so when you say that, if you do that, then, well, black people aren't going to get into school, and then they won't be able to uplift themselves. They won't be able to have prosperous families. They won't be able to, equalize the economic status, because you need to give them a little jump start. You know, you have a car, right?
How is that? How is that? Well, no, now I know who you are.
No, it's good.
But no, how has that worked the last 40 years? We've had robust affirmative action.
No.
We've had hiring practices. Has it made Black America more successful?
I can answer that easily. It's because sorry. It's because sorry. What am I going for?
I don't know.
You're a funny guy. So what happened is, even after the Civil Rights Act, you know what I believe the term is massive resistance. It was a movement in after the Brown versus Board of Education in Virginia, where essentially the legislature, which was still white supremacist, which is still extremely racist, they decided that no, we're going to do everything that feasibly possible within our means to stop black people from going to white schools. You even see this in I believe it was the Little Rock Nine, right? Even after it was legalized at the state level, white supremacist mobs still mobilized to prevent it. So even if it de facto it's gone, de jure it still exists.
Let me ask you a very simple question.
Yeah.
A term you keep on throwing around.
Got you.
What is racism?
What is racism? Ooh, that's a very complicated question. But
no, it's not.
I mean, there's a simple answer, and then there's the highly theoretical answer.
Give me the
simple. The simple answer will essentially be because we have like different skin colors, that he's treated a different way than me. He has like a different upbringing than me.
No, I mean, look, the real definition of racism is you thinking that you're better than another person because of your race. It's almost like a narcissism problem in a way. It's like this. Back in the day, white people just thought that they were better than black people just because they were white. That's racism. I mean, yeah, that's what it is. Not honestly about being treated differently. It's just about people seeing you as less than them because they're white or they're black or they're this. Like, you could be any race and be racist. You could be a racist black person and be racist against white people because why? Oh, you look down on them. You see them as evil colonizers who are below y'all and all this wild stuff. That's racism. Like white people, oh, these crime black N-words with the hard R on it. I mean, yes, you look down on us. Yes, that's racist. It really, you can't really say racism until you're looking down on somebody for not being you.
No, but what is racism in practice?
It's discrimination.
Based on the color of the skin.
Based on the color of the skin,
Got it, thank you. So isn't it racist then to penalize white people to come into college or to get jobs based on the color of their skin?
Well, no.
Wouldn't that be racist?
Yeah, I know. I know. That's part of this. The supremacy of racism is like, yeah, I think I'm so above you that you're an animal compared to me. Racism always got to. Now, this is what I've gathered from reading many definitions of racism throughout the year. It has a bit of a superiority complex attached to it.
So you're arguing for a very racist policy, which is that we should actively discriminate against people based on the color of their skin, which is affirmative action in DEI in practice.
I just disagree with the premise that you can do like anti-white racism because
wait, can you be racist against white people?
No, bro, I'm a cracker, bro. What the no, you can't be racist against white. Bro, there's so many crackers here, bro.
Bruh.
There's your clip, bro. There's your clip. Well, what are you gonna do political violence to me, bro? Like, why are you saying that to me? You're making me scared.
Okay. So let me tell you what we believe, because you tell us what you believe.
Okay.
Your worldview is indistinguishable from the KKK. That you want to organize the world based on skin color. We want to organize the world based on merit and character, based on how hard you work, what you bring to the table. I believe it's destructive and wrong to say that people are going to be organized or have their future set based on the color of their skin. I think it's tribalistic. I think it is divisive, and I think it hurts the excellence of a country. You asked a question, well, how are we going to help other communities? You know how you help other communities? Stop pandering to them and start treating them like...
Honest, at the end of the day, racism don't make no sense. And the reason why it don't make no sense, because there's so many examples of people doing great things outside of your race. That's why racism honestly shouldn't exist, because there's just so many examples of people that are better than you outside of your race.
Like individuals made in the image of God, not tribes to be organized for political purposes.
Okay, so do you think like when Trump is
culture is like, yeah, if I was there, I figure out who this guy is. But now he's not though. He kind of did it's the glasses probably. Like, bro, he could have damn near did the whole get up. He could have low key hit us with the hijab look, like threw the little hood over it, wrapped the mouth up. He could have did a way better job than this.
Now he's president. Now that racism is gone now because Trump is back, we're no longer pandering, right? Do you think that the conditions of black people do you think O Block is going to become like a much nicer place? Do you think that these very downturned sort of black neighborhoods that have been sort of left behind, do you think they're going to become revitalized now? Is that what you think is going to happen?
Yeah, they'll do better for sure.
Do you think they're going to do better? Now that we've stopped helping them, they're going to do better.
Well, see, that's an interesting thing.
Because that seems like contradictory to me, just on basic logic.
Well, actually, black Americans under Donald Trump in the first term saw the greatest economic renaissance that they saw since the 1950s.
Do you don't think
highest
that's due to
wage
Obama,
increases, lowest unemployment, revitalization, amazing investment in their communities, opportunity zones.
But that's when we had affirmative action. So wouldn't that be bad?
Well, again, we actually got rid of affirmative action now.
But that was now. But I'm talking about before.
Those are unrelated things, though. Just
you think they don't seem unrelated to me?
Well, affirmative action
policies addressing racism. They seem
affirmative action is again.
So I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you.
No, you are. That's okay.
I'm sorry.
Affirmative action is largely federal government hiring practices and the adjacent institutions. I think that all communities will do even better when we stop living under the soft bigotry of low expectations. Inherent in your argument is that we have to pander to certain communities based on the color of their skin because they can't do as well as white people. I reject the premise. I think that we should try to say, I don't care about the color of your skin. I care about what you bring to the table and stop pandering to people based on special criteria, points, and acceptance to college, saying that we're going to make it easier for one group.
Now, this is going to be the wildest example. But now let's say we were at a rap battle, right? And you seen a white dude and a black dude both pull up to the rap battle. Who you think going to win that rap battle? Now, automatically, you are going to say the black guy. But that may not be the case. That's pretty much the point he's trying to make. It's like, hey, yo, just because this may be the usual case, it doesn't mean that's always the factor.
And harder for another group.
I don't think it's pandering, though. I think it's understanding.
Okay, but let me.
Do you think that circumstances are working based on that?
Do you think that we should have black-only dormitories in America?
Exactly.
No. Why would I want that?
Okay, well, there's hundreds of schools that have those actually.
What do you mean black?
I mean, shout out Morehouse.
They're not. White people are not allowed in.
No, white people are not allowed.
White people. Yeah, that's why I said white people are not allowed.
Correct. We have black-only graduation ceremonies across the country.
Well, those are from well, I believe those are most likely like HBCUs, right?
No, like the University of Michigan has one, Yale has one, Harvard has one. So we're agreeing that is wrong. That is the furthest extension of hyper race obsession. So you could choose one or the other. You can be race obsessed or merit obsessed. We as conservatives decide to be merit obsessed, to build a country based on how hard you work and what you're able to deliver.
Okay. Well, so wait here. Just I wasn't.
Final point.
Yeah, final point. Sure. Okay. Sure. This thing's a little close. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to offend your wonderful setup here. Yeah, so I guess I'll just restate my point that I don't believe you mentioned like all black dormitories, right? I mean, I don't really comment on that. I mean, I don't know if that's real. To me, that sounds fake, but I'll give you the benefit of the doubt here.
It's very real.
Okay, but I just think it's a very irrelevant kind of like aesthetic focus thing. It doesn't really affect the material conditions of like black people.
If you heard there were white-only dormitories, there'd be marching in the streets, right?
Oh, well, because okay,
What's the difference?
The difference is, like, for example, if you want to go back to segregation, the all-white dormitory was nice as and all-black one was. So if that was brought back, okay, if we were to do an all-white dormitory and I'm
not recommending it. I think actually segregation is wrong and evil, and we're heading until Donald Trump. We were heading in that direction.
But like, okay, I'll go back to because I let it slip by, but you mentioned that like in the early years of the Donald Trump presidency, right? That the conditions for the employment and stuff are going up for black people. What I would say is the economy works slow. It works at like a time dilation for when the policy is initially enacted. So what I would probably assume based on what you said to me is that it was the Obama era policies that.
Here's the thing though, if y'all want to use that argument right now, can we use that same argument for Biden? Like, what you mean, bro? It's time dilation with policies. The time dilation with policies means that all these bad decisions that Biden made, it's just now catching up to us. So it can't be Trump because, the time dilation of policies. I mean, we can make the same damn argument.
Actually led to that, not the Trump policies.
This is easy too.
Stuff like tax cuts
I
for the rich doesn't really help.
In a year from now, we're going to have the greatest economy ever. They're going to say it's all Biden. It's all.
Oh, guys, we got almost about 240 y'all in here, man. Do me a favor and double tap that screen, man. Let's get to 100 likes or hit those 3 dots up there next to the SK Media symbol. I appreciate the support, guys. Let's keep it going.
I did.
Well, I mean, I don't think that's going to happen. I personally think the economy is going to shit with what all Elon Musk is doing. But if that was to happen, I mean, I guess my whole worldview. But I'm pretty certain it's not going to happen.
What about Elon? What Elon's doing bothers you? Do you not want to see the government efficient?
The government is efficient. He's just firing everybody. It looks like he did to Twitter. But y'all see what happened to Twitter? Bro, it's racist as now. It's just a Nazi haven. It went from like a pretty accepting place to like where like the average blue check mark is saying Hail Hitler. Like Elon Musk himself has replied to like, well, he did the Nazi salute. Like we're not gonna forget about that, are we?
No, he didn't.
What do you mean? Y'all didn't see that clip, bro? Y'all see when he did that?
All right.
Oh, okay.
And by the way,
they like to say it was so crisp, though. I never forget. I'm sorry. I will never forget Chen Kuga saying, but you didn't see it was so crisp. I'm like, bro, no, it wasn't. That shit was, if it was a Nazi salute, that was the most awkward Nazi salute I've ever seen in my life. Like, no, it was not oh so crisp. It was not oh so obvious. Like, y'all tripping and y'all reaching. Once again, Will Chamberlain reach. But all right. Let's get it over to Lefty's losing it, and then we're going to go ahead and head over to the press secretary. Let's get it to it.
Losing it, and you asked for it, and you shall receive. Let's jump into a Joy Reid extravaganza. This is just going to be.
Oh, yeah. We're still on Joy Reid's ad. Oh, no, we're going to celebrate, because this is one I did not like Joy Reid at all. When I found out she got fired, man, I don't even going to lie to you. I was just like, let's go. Let's go. Oh, my God. Take her bald ass up off TV because she's done too much. She done made us look too crazy, okay? I'm done. Like, oh, man.
Emotional damage.
Is what I hope she's having.
Be so much fun, so much broken, race baiting, extreme left nastiness. As I said last night, I'm shattered that she's been sacked by MSNBC. Where else can I find content this utterly unhinged?
One side stands for freedom, while the other meets the textbook definition of fascism, namely a far-right dictatorial regime like Hitler's Germany or Franco's Spain or Mussolini's Italy, but also white-ruled South Africa before Mandela and the black majority took control.
Oh, yes, she was obsessed with calling anyone who wasn't an American-hating Marxist a fascist or a racist.
We do have a fascist groundswell in parts of this country, mainly among white men, let's be clear, the racist tomahawk chop, the gesture and chant promoting stereotypes, caricatures, and frankly, hatred of Native American people. Similarities to what happened in Germany and what's happening now in America are just undeniable. History may not repeat verbatim, but it sure does rhyme.
So now I see why anybody who listens to her, or why a lot of my black brothers and sisters be racism is everywhere, bro. Bro, I see racism every day. You told me you can't see the racism, and I just look at them like, honestly, nope. No, I do not, because I'm not looking for it, or I'm not listening to people who try to frame everything as some type of racism or as some type of race baiting. I'm be real with you. She's just like she's the queen of race baiting at this point. Like everything is not on race. I promise you, black people. I'm talking to y'all, okay? It's not always about race. I guarantee it. I promise you. 9 times out of 10, it's most likely our fault. Like at 10%, it's race. It's most likely some racist BS going on. 10% of the time, 90% of the time, there's something we could do about it. There's something we could have did better.
She really is madder than a cut snake. And you'd remember I played a clip last night of Joy Reid mocking white women's tears. Well, look who's crying now.
My show had value, and that I'm sorry.
I don't know, bro. Look, guys, I'm just not a fan of watching women cry. I'll just be so honest with you. So, but I can listen to them talk. So I'm gonna listen, but I'm gonna turn my face.
That what I was doing had value.
No, it had no value, Joy. It was just hysteria, lies, race-baiting hyperbole designed to agitate the ill-informed left who really don't need any further help in being angry and miserable. And if you feel sorry for Joy Reid, if you think I'm being a bit too harsh, just remember her glee when firefighters and police officers were sacked for not getting their COVID shot. So yes, we have the receipts.
It's a pattern that we've seen across the country with.
They didn't fire anybody for not getting shots. They didn't fire anybody. But Joy Reid covered the fact that they were firing people and she was happy about it. But they weren't firing anybody. Okay.
Police unions and officers coming out against mandates. Seattle's police union called the mandate a public safety crisis, as if vaccines aren't for the public's safety. The city's police and firefighters who were fired for non-compliance made a very dramatic exit, marching to City Hall to turn in their boots. And a trooper went as far as to attack Governor Jay Inslee over the radio while claiming that he was being asked to leave because I'm dirty.
Sorry, guys. The Rumble stream is down for the night. I do not know what's going on with it, but yeah, Rumble stream is down for the night.
I mean, no one said not being vaccinated was dirty, but okay then.
Charming. That diatribe went on for some time before she ended on this bit of misinformation and hysteria, accusing police officers of risking the lives of the public by not taking their COVID vaccine. And she also attacked officers for not being masked in a New York subway.
Police officers are supposed to protect and serve, but they're actually putting themselves ahead of the citizens they could infect. We constantly hear that police brutality cases wouldn't even have happened if only everyone just complied and followed all of their commands. But it's clear that some officers don't hold themselves to that same standard. They're literally refusing to comply with the law. Just take what happened at a New York subway stop yesterday, where a rider says he was harassed and then thrown out of the station for asking officers to wear masks, which, by the way, is the law. The NYPD says the event is under internal review. Guess all the cops former Governor Cuomo sent into the subway system are really making an impact. So for putting Americans in danger, officers and unions who are fighting against vaccine mandates, which essentially means fighting to make the public sick, are tonight's absolute worst.
She's just the worst, isn't she? Imagine being too much of a...
So the people who protect and serve, the people who are going to pull your ass out of a burning house you're laughing at. Like, and then think about like this. How is a cop honestly supposed to do his job like with a face mask over him? Like, you know, these guys got to yell a lot. Firefighters, I mean, bro, they already got to breathe in a fucking fire. You're telling me putting a mask over there that's not like that's not their smoke mask. Like, what are y'all saying? Y'all sound stupid. Y'all sound low-key dumb. I'm gonna be real with you. That was stupid. That was dumb. I ain't even gonna lie. That blew me because I'm like, bro, ain't no way she just got off with that and then was saying it as if it made sense. You stupid.
Lefty loon even for MSNBC.
Keep Hitler out the White House. Hitler, White House. We keeping him out.
Restoring the name Fort Bragg sure looks like an attempt to resegregate the military. It's a right-wing fantasy land, like Disney World, but in hell. Come to Florida, the meanest place on earth.
This woman is so shameless and comfortable making racist comments that she called the great Clarence Thomas, Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas, a racial pejorative on live TV.
If somehow they manage to stumble into the Supreme Court, do any of you guys trust Uncle Clarence and Amy Coney Barrett and those guys to actually follow the letter of the law? No.
Just gross, and shame on the other two MSNBC anchors for not jumping in with a rebuke right there. Remember, this is the woman who a couple of months ago was telling Americans to not have Thanksgiving or Christmas dinner with their Republican family, to shun their own flesh and blood if they vote differently. And this next clip really captures the ugliness of Joy Reid and the far left in general. This rant went on, I don't know, for like 10 minutes. Here's 42 seconds that gives you an idea of the endless bile of the far left.
These are the people who say the undocumented, who they get to call illegal immigrants, like the Pilgrims had permission to come here, have to suffer the consequences of their actions, right? They made the choice to overstay their visas or come into our country illegally. So if they get deported, consequences. But you right-wingers shouldn't have to suffer the consequences of your votes. You don't want to be around me because I voted for fascism. No fair. I'm coughing on you with COVID, but you want me to wear a mask for your safety? No fair. My body, my choice. Well, here's an alternative thought. Make your own dinner, MAGA. Make your own sandwiches. Wipe your own tears. Troll amongst yourselves with Elon and leave us alone.
You really have to marvel at the delusion there, the thought that Republicans are sad about not dining with the likes of her. The audacity is, I got to say, off the charts. She genuinely thinks Republicans regret their vote. They are the ones who miss out because cousin Sarah with the nose piercings and the green hair boycotts Thanksgiving dinner.
But if you expect the 73 million who...
All right, now let's not go ahead and bore y'all with Miss Reed here. But what I will do, though, is we're going to get to some dancing with my man Michael Jackson. Shout out Castro, my man. I ain't gonna lie, Castro. Dog. Bro, you prove the fact that you got a little bit of black in you every day. My man said the first minute. Let's get right back to it, guys. And we're going to go ahead and start off with press secretary. Let's get straight to it. Shout out my man Castro for that one.
Good afternoon, everybody.
And before I get right into that, let's go ahead and shout out to Cultural Leotard. Appreciate your culture. Well, I said cultural. My bad. Culture Leotard. And she says, do we even have artists that bring up these issues like Michael anymore? Well, I'm sorry. Like Michael did anymore? No, we do not. No, we do not. I'll tell you that right now because, well, Michael spoke out against a certain group and, hey, man, they put him down for that one. Like, you know, I heard somebody say Kendrick, but honestly, I mean, Kendrick is like, no, I'm not, you know, I'm gonna say this just for the hell of it. Kendrick is like the Joy Reid of rap in a way. It's like race baiting rap. Like that's really what it is. Like as much as like he's not really saying anything too deep anymore in his songs. I mean, you know, when he first came out, he was talking about the problems in the hood, you know, and covering those dark ass stories. But now, you know, after Pimp a Butterfly and all that good stuff, been a bit racy. Damn was great though. Damn, that was a great album.
How are we today? Good. During his inaugural address, President Trump promised that America would be a manufacturing nation once again, and liberal pundits mocked him for it. But those critics were proven wrong once again. On the heels of President Trump's Oval Office meeting with Apple CEO Tim Cook last week, Apple just announced its largest ever commitment to American jobs and industry, with plans to spend and invest more than $500 billion in America over the next 4 years. Over the course of the current Trump administration, Apple plans to hire around 20,000 new workers, creating high-paying jobs right here in America. And the investment isn't limited to one specific region of our country. Apple teams and facilities will expand all over our country in Arizona, California, Iowa, Nevada, North Carolina, Michigan, Oregon, Texas, and Washington.
Okay, let's
With
go.
President Trump in charge.
Hey, the states just named. Look out for some jobs out there. Look, man, Apple coming to y'all, so y'all better get to applying, especially those who are just graduating from tech. Hey, man, this be a ding in y'all head. Ding, 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 ding. Get yourself in the ring.
America is open for business. Apple CEO Tim Cook said it best in the company's announcement. We are bullish on the future of American innovation. On top of this incredible Apple announcement, President Trump already announced more than $1 trillion in pledged investments into the United States. And on another important note that the American people entrusted President Trump to fulfill, this administration's efforts.
Go back to that. Go back. I need to see that again.
$1 trillion in pledged investments into the United States.
All right, investments in the U.S. under President Trump. All right, so from Saudi Arabia, $600 billion. I mean, y'all better. All right, here over 4 years from Stargate. Really? Stargate. Okay, nice. All right, over 4 years from Apple, $500 billion. Okay, so we're getting $500 billion from Stargate, Apple, and I do not know. I'm not even going to try to pronounce that company. And shout out to Nippon Steel. Oh, Nippon Steel. Okay, so 4.1 billion from Nippon Steel. So we're getting some of the steel companies back, or at least some of the steel business back. And total investment made 1.6 trillion. Hey, I love it. I love it.
And on another important note that the American people entrusted President Trump to fulfill, this administration's efforts to seal the border continue to prove extraordinarily successful. In President Trump's first month back in office alone, illegal border crossings hit lows not seen in decades, down 94% over the past year, while interior arrests are up 134%. And this past Saturday, this is a significant statistic that I wanted to share with all of you. There were only 220 illegal border crossings on Saturday. This is a 15-year low. Think about that in comparison to the amount of illegal border crossings we saw under the previous administration. Fox recently reported that a San Diego migrant shelter is closing its doors after saying they have not received new asylum-seeking families or individuals since January 20th. We all know what happened on January 20th, don't we? And yesterday, New York City Mayor Eric Adams announced that the massive Roosevelt Hotel migrant shelter in Manhattan will shut down in the next few months. We're also seeing
should have never freaking started, but okay, still progress.
A reverse migration effect. There are now verified reports from the Associated Press of migrants abandoning their journey to the United States and heading back home. This is the first time the border.
Hey, I mean, it's safer for y'all to do that than to stay here. I mean, hey, hopefully I didn't pay too much money to the cartel because, we all know they don't do refunds.
Patrol has received these reports since 2020, during President Trump's first term. The returning migrants claimed in interviews that the new heavy security posture adopted by the Trump administration was a significant reason for their decision to return to the countries of their origin. Overall, the American people continue to overwhelmingly give President Trump very positive remarks. Nearly every one of President Trump's policy initiatives are receiving strong majority support. And I have noted that in every briefing since Inauguration Day. 81% of Americans support deporting illegal migrant criminals from our nation's interior.
As they should.
76% of Americans support the DOJ-led efforts of a full-scale investigation to find and eliminate fraud and waste in government expenditure.
As they should. Closing the border with added security and policies that discourage illegals crossing. I mean, 76, as we should. I mean, these are all bangers here. I mean, of course. It's funny as we go down, we start seeing where we disagree at, just to skip along, though. Ending bans on offshore drilling in Alaska and elsewhere. And I know we're majority in agreement with that, but the 43% here, bro, what the hell wrong with y'all? Like, no, for real. I mean, like, bro, if you agree that we should just, we shouldn't end the bans on offshore drilling, please come to the front and state your argument. I need to hear it. I mean, bro, I'll drop the link right now. Please tell me why you think this is a bad idea. Please.
Again, this is from a Harvard-Harris poll, a very legitimate pollster. 76% of Americans support closing the border. 69% of Americans support President Trump's common sense efforts to ban men from women's sports. As you all know, we celebrated that executive order at the White House a couple of weeks ago. 65% of Americans support the president's efforts to eliminate all preferences by race in the hiring and awarding of government contracts, which is another pledge that DOJ is working hard to fulfill. And 61% of Americans, vast majority, support the president's plan for reciprocal tariffs to ensure that other countries are treating us the way we have always been treated. Despite what many Democrats and media.
So when y'all on the left kicking, screaming, crying, saying the American people don't want this, this is not what we want. I'm like, bro, he got the people's mandate. Y'all forgot about that part. This is what majority of us want.
Media members want you to believe the Trump agenda is not only necessary, but it is overwhelmingly popular. Why? Because it's driven by common sense. And finally, as you all saw yesterday, a federal judge denied the Associated Press's emergency motion for a temporary restraining order against myself, our Deputy Chief of Staff, Taylor Budowich, and our Chief of Staff, Susie Wiles, for our decision to remove the Associated Press from the White House press pool for certain and special events. The judge's ruling, upholding our decision to deny the Associated Press such privileged access, reinforces the truth. And it reiterates what I said from this podium last week when that suit was filed. Asking the President of the United States questions in limited spaces, such as the Oval Office in Air Force One, is a privilege that unfortunately has only been granted to a few. It is not a legal right for all. The Trump administration has already proven to be the most transparent ever, and this president, the most accessible in history. This is evidenced by President Trump's daily press conferences in the Oval Office, where he takes many questions from the journalists who have the honor and privilege of standing before the beautiful, resolute desk. The president and this entire White House are committed to ensuring the American people continue to receive this same level of historic transparency, access, and visibility. In fact, we want to double down and give even greater access to the American people.
Really?
We want more outlets and new outlets to have a chance to take part in the press pool, to cover this administration's unprecedented achievements up close, front and center. As you all know, for decades, a group of DC-based journalists, the White House Correspondents Association, has long dictated which journalists get to ask questions of the President of the United States in these most intimate spaces. Not anymore. I am proud to announce that we are going to give the power back to the people who read your papers, who watch your television shows, and who listen to your radio stations.
And we're going to quick little intermission because she just went off on the media pretty much. She pretty much just told them, look, we're going to allow some different people to come in here and not just kind of like monopolize it to y'all. It's like, yes, we monopolize like access to the president to, well, mainstream media. Now independent media gets a shot at it. So let's go. Hey, shout out to transparency, because now that everyday man can walk in there who just has, you know, a small little media company like myself, and let's see if we can ask some questions. All right, now shout out Cultural Leotard. We're gonna go ahead and play your video that you put in there, because I ain't gonna lie, it definitely caught my attention. It really did.
Last weekend, 70 Christians were beheaded for their faith inside of a church, and you probably didn't hear about it until right now. We all remember the London terrorist attack that targeted Muslims.
I mean, sure, I've been about Christians being targeted in certain countries. I mean, like Ukraine. It was being targeted in Ukraine.
Killing one man, and how it rightly dominated headlines. But when it comes to 70 Christians, the media is virtually silent.
He says, give migrants entry if they snitch on the cartels. Hey, yo, low key. I ain't gonna lie. Oh shit. That's a good idea. Like, hey, like, look, man, we're gonna let you in, but you just need to go ahead and call the guy who smuggled you over here. Tell him that you're over here and you got a cousin that got to connect. We'll ask you to meet him at that location, get his ass, and hey, have a good day, bro. Welcome to America. Like, you deserve it. You to help save some American people. Well, and your own people too.
And this isn't just an oversight. It's part of a much bigger problem, a pattern that reveals something deeply disturbing about what's really happening in our world. And once you see it, you won't be able to unsee it. To understand why this happened, we need to go back to the slow but steady rise of Islam in Congo. For most of its history, Congo was a Christian majority nation, thanks to the missionaries who built schools, hospitals, and churches in the late 19th century. But after independence in 1960, something changed. Islamic communities, once restricted, were now free to organize and expand, and this set the stage for the tragedy that happened last week. The group behind this massacre is known as the ADF, the Allied Democratic Forces, who are associated with ISIS and founded by this man, Jamil Makulu, a former Catholic and convert to Islam. So here's what happened.
Yeah.
It was early in the morning of February 12th.
Usually when people convert from a religion, usually when people convert from a religion, they usually have a kind of a disdain for that religion. There's a reason they turned from it. I mean, like a Muslim girl going from Muslim to Christianity. I'm like, yay, let me go from the religion that, you know, gives me more rights than the other one. I mean, I get it. I get it. And then, you know, there's women who go from Christian to Muslim. It's like, yay, let me go to a religion that, you know, tells women to, you know, keep themselves sacred. You know, arguments for both sides.
When the ADF struck, armed militants stormed the homes of Christians, yelling for them to come outside. Terrified families woke to the sound of gunfire and screaming, and one by one, they were dragged from their homes at gunpoint and were kidnapped and forced to march with the militants. Now, this happened over the span of a few days as they gathered nearly 100 Christians and forced them to carry loot for them as they continued to gather more Christians and killing those along the way who couldn't physically endure. Now, all of this kept going on until eventually they arrived at a Protestant church in Eastern Congo. Once inside, the Christians were tied up, tortured, and then one by one, sadly, they were beheaded. Mothers, fathers, and children all slaughtered inside of their own church. The bodies of over 70 victims, including women, children, and the elderly, were found inside the church the next day. Now, as tragic as the story is, it should have been international news, but chances are you hadn't even heard about it until now. And there's a growing sentiment among people who believe that the reason why is because the victims were Christians. Unfortunately, this isn't the first time that the media has ignored Christian persecution, which is why it's more important than ever to know when the news is being selectively reported. And that's where today's sponsor comes in, Ground News. Ground News gathers articles from over 50,000 sources and shows you how—
Shout out Ground News, man. Hey, shout out. We use them as well. We definitely use these guys as well. All right, let's keep it going.
All right, now back to our video. So we left off with this growing sentiment of people who believe that the reason why the media hasn't covered this story is because the victims were Christians.
Why is no one reporting this? Why does no one seem to care? If you were to replace 70 Congolese Christian with any other minority group, 70 Palestinians were beheaded, 70 people at a pride parade were beheaded, this would be the biggest news story of the decade. And yet this just happened and no one's reporting on it. Literally crickets.
Because these were Christians, Congolese Christians, the world just seems to shrug.
And it's not hard to see why people feel this way. I mean, compare the mainstream coverage of the Congo massacre to this story. In 2017, a man drove a van into a group of Muslims near the Finsbury Park Mosque in London. And in the attack, a 51-year-old man was tragically killed and 9 others were injured. This attack made global headlines. CNN, BBC, The Guardian, nearly every major outlet covered it extensively. The UK government even released an official statement condemning it, and politicians all around the world spoke out. But when it comes to not just one Christian, but 70 that were killed for their faith, well, apart from Fox News, at least at the time of this recording, there seems to be complete silence from the major media outlets. And this isn't just a one-time thing. Christians are being murdered for their faith all around the world, yet the media—
Like I said, bro, I had one example of that happened in Ukraine where they were pulling Christians out the church and forcing them on the battlefield. This 70 beheaded Christians is wild. Wow.
Media barely acknowledges terrorist attacks that target Christians. And even when they do, they never talk about the real cause driving virtually all of it. If you want to know why terrorism targeting Christians keeps happening, take a look at this map. This shows the places where Christians are the most persecuted and have a high risk of being killed for simply being Christian.
Damn. I mean, well, the Middle East, I can see that. Middle East, parts of Africa. Yeah, I can believe that. Why not? I can believe it.
Notice anything about these regions? If not, take a look at this map. This right here is a map of where the Muslim population is the highest. And here's where we start to see a pattern emerge. And finally, look at this map. This one shows where the most terrorist attacks occur. So now at this point, the connection—
Now, I don't know if that's the best. I don't know. Okay, no, maybe I should wait till he finishes it off, but I'm just going to state it like this. I hope he's not trying to say that, yeah, you know, Christians, when it comes to these Muslims countries, you need to stay the hell away. I mean, like, look, man, if you pull up and you're in a Muslim community as a Christian, you just need to go ahead and take your ass off somewhere. If you're a Christian, you hop up on the wrong international flight, you end up somewhere in Saudi Arabia, you need to hop back on that flight like immediately.
Is undeniable. Not only is most of the world's terrorism generated by those claiming to be Muslim, but these radical Muslims seem to account for virtually all of the terrorist attacks that specifically target Christians for simply being Christian. They're systematically hunting down Christians worldwide, and there's a reason for that.
Reason why you have to fight them is because they are Jews and Christians. You should fight those empires around you, or those hukumat around you, which are Jew or Christian, until they give the jizya. That's fine. That we already know Islam allows.
Quran 9:29 says to fight those that don't believe in Allah. And Surah 9:5 even goes further, ordering them to kill the unbelievers wherever you find them. These verses and—
Now, come on, bro. Yeah, now Christians are very unfair when they do this against Islam, because you're acting like there isn't, you know, rhetoric in the Bible that also says it's kind of close to the same thing.
More, even in the hadiths.
I mean, what do you think the Christian Crusaders wrote on? What do you think they was killing on?
say to target people based on what they believe. And ever since these verses were documented until today, we see a small percentage of Muslims actively targeting and killing Christians because they believe that they're commanded by Allah to do so. Now, these beliefs are dangerous, destructive, and completely incompatible.
Then hold on now. See, that's what I'm saying. It's like, I know a Muslim scholar who will hop his ass on her like quick just to hit him with the, what you mean? It's part of our religion not to kill nobody for no reason. And it's like they'll tell you, like, what you mean? It's against Islamic religion to kill somebody for no reason. Like, it's not, and they'll tell you it's not because they don't believe in Allah. They'll tell you that right there and then. So when they pull out these, like, you know, passages from the Quran, and they do this to the Bible too. Like, they do this to the Bible as well. They're usually pulling it out from stories that are being told that are now being taken out of context. I'm pretty sure the story pretty sure where that saying came from was probably a story being told in the Quran. Most likely, actually, I'm almost sure it's a story being told in the Quran. Just like there's many stories told in the Bible, to where if you was to take that out the Bible and it's posted from it, people go like, yo, what the fuck going on in the Bible?
With any free society. But instead of calling them out, the media defends them. And rather than condemning the ideology behind these attacks, they stay silent, or worse, they label anyone who speaks out as Islamophobic. And meanwhile, Christian values, the very values that protect and give these journalists human rights, are ignored, dismissed, or even attacked. They don't realize it, but doing so is actively working against their self-interest and in a very dangerous way. If you were to compare across history, whenever Christian ethics have shaped a nation, that nation tends to improve. And when Islamic ideology dominates, we actually see the opposite. And this has been confirmed and documented in places like this. This study from Cambridge showed that Christian majority countries scored from medium to very high when it came to human development, whereas most of the countries that scored the lowest in human development had an Islamic majority population.
Now, come on, guys. Now, this guy is being pretty unfair. Like, see, I love Christians, but Christian content creators, bro, they know how to dunk on people in the most graceful way. So I give it to them. But come on now, why are a lot of these countries doing bad? Who fault is it? Come on now, don't act like we ain't got nothing involved. Come on, don't act like we're involved. Actually, no, let's not act like most of these Christian countries aren't the reason why some of these Islamic countries are in hell right now. So I don't know if we want to make that assertion.
And in predominantly Muslim countries, we often see things like lower levels of political freedom, educational attainment, and social inclusion, and it's really not hard to see why. At core, Christianity teaches that everyone, including every single Muslim, is made in the image of God and are infinitely valuable. Therefore, everyone is deserving of dignity and human rights. This is why Christian countries tend to have broad protections for all faiths and beliefs. In Christian countries, Muslims are allowed to be Muslim, or they're free to convert to any other religion. But Islam, however, rejects the idea that humans are made in God's image, and that belief has real consequences. This is why leaving Islam will earn you a death sentence in multiple Muslim countries. Freedom of speech, also restricted, because many Islamic nations enforce blasphemy laws.
Now, let's be real. Now, look, you're right. This man is not lying about what's going on in some of these Muslim countries, but hey, I mean, in highly Christian countries, cities, and all that good stuff, there be some weird stuff going down. So like I said, I'm pretty sure you can have a Muslim scholar hop right on here and low-key point the same fingers right back at him,
making it illegal to criticize Islam, which is even punishable by imprisonment or execution. So given these facts, Christianity fosters peaceful relationships and protect.
And yeah, that is not freedom of speech. I mean, I'll tell you one thing. I don't like it. I really don't. But I don't like it. Like, I don't like when people talk bad about God. But guess what? You can do that. Freedom of speech. It doesn't mean that there might not be some Christian or some Muslim that'll smack in the face one day. But it does mean that we won't put you to death over it. I mean, at least you get that, right? That's a pretty good perk, right?
Protects human rights, and Islam simply doesn't. That is, unless it's influenced by Christian ethics and freedoms. Of course, there are exceptions to this fact, and you can find exceptions on both sides. But the overwhelming pattern is still clear. Where Christianity spreads, freedom and prosperity follow. And where radical Islam takes hold, freedoms vanish and societies decline. So now here's the real question in all of this. If the media isn't run by Muslims, then why are they so quick to defend Islamic theology while ignoring the countless Christians being slaughtered because of it? Well, there's actually a few answers to this question, and Jesus already told us about one of them. The world will simply hate
I'm not even gonna lie. This video seems a bit more divisive than uniting. I mean, now look, like I said, we can also name out all the good things the Quran say, but it kind of just sounds like this man is trying to frame Islam to be this. I mean, no, for lack of words, so it's a satanic religion in a way. It's kind of reckless, but this is how he's coming at it.
Christians for his name's sake. And when I say that, with that in mind, we still have to be honest. Some of the time, we aren't hated because we're following Christ, but instead for doing wrong or mistreating others. And Jesus never said that persecution was a virtue in itself. If we suffer, it shouldn't be because we're doing wrong, but because we're doing good and are reflecting Christ. As Peter said, if you suffer for doing good and you endure it, this is commendable before God. To this you are called because Christ suffered for you, leaving you an example that you should follow in his steps. And if you think about this example for Christ, he didn't do anything wrong, but the world still hated him enough to kill him. And unfortunately today, the same thing is happening to our brothers and sisters in Congo and across the world who are not being killed for crimes, not for violence, but simply because they follow Christ. But we can take peace in knowing that their deaths are not in vain. It's part of the very story that Christ told us would unfold. Unlike these terrorists, we don't prepare ourselves to kill for Christ. We prepare ourselves to die for Christ because we love him, just as he prepared to die for us because he loves us. And that love transforms us from the inside out, not into people who harm others, but instead to people who love everyone, even those who want to kill us. That's the power of the gospel, and that's what makes Christianity unlike anything else. So pray for our brothers and sisters around the world who are actively being persecuted for his name's sake. And then be sure to share this video so that way people can see the truth that the media won't tell them. Let's make sure that this truth gets out.
All right. Like I said, hey, shout out to the Christian content creators because, hey, man, that was a great sales pitch to turn away from Islam and go to Christianity. I ain't gonna lie, he ain't convinced me, but what can I say? I'm a tough person to convince on things like that. Anything religious.
Moving forward, the White House press pool will be.
And like I said, I share no religious affiliations. I believe that there's a God. I believe there's a creator. But as far as that, I'm cool on the rest of the stuff.
Be determined by the White House press team. Legacy outlets who have participated in the press pool for decades will still be allowed to join. Fear not. But we will also be offering the privilege to well-deserving outlets who have never been allowed to share in this awesome responsibility. Just like we added a new media seat in this briefing room, legacy media outlets who have been here for years will still participate in the pool. But new voices are going to be welcomed in as well. As part of these changes, we will continue the rotation amongst the 5 major television networks to ensure the president's remarks are heard far and wide around this world. We will add additional streaming services which reach different audiences than traditional cable and broadcast. This is the ever-changing landscape of the media in the United States today. We will continue to rotate a print pooler who has the great responsibility of quickly transcribing the president's remarks and disseminating them to the rest of the world. And we will add outlets to the print pool rotation who have long been denied the privilege to partake in this experience, but are committed to covering this White House beat. We will continue to rotate a radio pooler and add other radio hosts who have been denied access, especially local radio hosts who serve as the heartbeat of our country. And we will add additional outlets and reporters who are well suited to cover the news of the day and ask substantive questions of the President of the United States, depending on the news he is making on that given day. This administration is shaking up Washington in more ways than one. That's what we were elected to do. As I have said since the first day behind this podium, it's beyond time that the White House press operation reflects the media habits of the American people in 2025, not 1925. A select group of DC-based journalists should no longer have a monopoly over the privilege of press access at the White House. All journalists, outlets, and voices deserve a seat at this highly coveted table. So by deciding which outlets make up the limited press pool on a day-to-day basis, the White House will be restoring power back to the American people who President Trump was elected to serve. So in that note, in our new media seat today, we have Shelby Talcott, who is a White House reporter for Semaphore. In 2022, Semaphore launched as a global digital news platform with the aim of bringing meaningful innovations to the news industry. Today, they have nearly 1 million newsletter subscribers spanning 11 separate editions. With that, Shelby, I will take your questions.
Thanks, Caroline. I've got two for you. One on foreign policy. Over the weekend, the president's special missions envoy, Rick Grenell, was talking about Venezuela, and he said that the president isn't someone who wants regime change. Other administration officials have made clear that they don't see Maduro as the rightful leader. What is this administration's policy on a new government in Venezuela?
I think the president has made his position on Venezuela quite clear. He stands in opposition to the Maduro regime, and Secretary Rubio has spoken on this extensively as well.
And then on Doge, last night Elon Musk said that a failure to respond a second time will result in termination. Will there be additional rounds of the "what did you do this week" email from Doge to federal workers? And what's the guidance on the federal workers who've been instructed by their agencies not to reply?
So a couple of things on this. First of all, let's just take a step back and talk about this idea. The president sent out a truth last weekend to Elon Musk saying he loves everything Elon is doing and he wants him to be even more aggressive because Doge thus far has proven incredibly successful in making our government more efficient. And so Elon and Doge came up with this idea. Elon has implemented this at his private companies. It has proven successful. And it's a very simple idea when you think about it. All the Office of Personnel Management is asking, all this administration is asking, President Trump is asking, is for federal workers who live off of the American taxpayers' dime to send 5 bullet points of what they have done in the previous week. That is all we are asking for. And so the Office of Personnel and Management sent out additional guidance last night. Those responses should be directed.
Man, can you imagine about crying, literally crying at your job, going like, they asked me to. Like, bro, you believe what they asked me to do, bro. Just won't believe it. Like, bro, what they asked you. Like, bro, they told me to write down what the fuck I do, bro. I don't even do shit. It's like, bro, I couldn't even imagine that at work. And somebody literally told you, hey, bro, write down like the last 5 things you did today. 5 things you did for the job. You over sitting there panicking. I'm just like, oh, yeah, I ain't gonna lie, bro. You need to get fired.
To agency leadership, and the president deferred.
That's literally how they were, like, honestly, that's how they're portraying these government employees. These people are breaking down over being asked, hey, yo, what do you do?
To his cabinet secretaries, who he's obviously entrusted to pursue the guidance relative to their specific workforce. And for some of the agencies that you've seen who have said, please don't send these emails, it's in their best interest for that specific agency, and the president supports that. And let me be very clear, the president and Elon is his entire cabinet are working as one unified team, and they are implementing these very common sense solutions. You're welcome. Jackie.
Thank you. One follow-up on the question. So about the deadline, Alina Habba said that you have until tonight. Elon Musk said a failure to respond a second time would result in termination. So is that a real deadline? Should federal workers be looking to that guidance, or should they be looking to the agency heads? Like, what is the actual deadline?
So again, the agency heads will determine the best practices for their employees at their specific agencies. Again, this was an idea that Elon come up with. Doge worked with OPM to actually implement the idea, and the secretaries are responsible for their specific workforce. And this is true of the hirings and the firings that have taken place. And we advise federal workers, unless your agency has dictated you not to respond to this email. In fact, I can announce that we've had more than 1 million workers who have chosen to participate in this very simple task of, again, sending 5 bullet points to your direct supervisor or manager, CCing OPM. I actually participated in myself. It took me about a minute and a half to think of 5 things I did last week. I did 5 things in about 10 minutes, and all federal workers should be working at the same pace that President Trump is working and moving. We have a country to save, and we want this federal government to be responsive to the needs of the American.
Yeah, it wasn't just these people at the department that Doge was investigating. It was everybody. They was like, bro, even the departments that we've yet to investigate, or like any government official, yo, give us 5 things you've done. And if that's a hassle, if you're having like trouble telling me that, then yeah, I ain't gonna lie, you do deserve to be fired. Like, Trump should really just come in there and hit you with
You're
the
fired.
Oh God, like just cold point blank. Like, here you
You're
go.
fired.
American people who reelected this president to have historic, massive reform. And that's what the intention of this idea is.
Can you clarify one thing, though? Because Elon Musk also said that a reason that they wanted this 5 things email was just to see if people are actually alive, citing that there are some federal workers who might not even be alive. So meantime, NBC is reporting that these responses are going to go into an AI generator to evaluate whether these jobs are necessary. So is it just to see if people are actually working, or is it an effort to maybe cut some of those jobs?
I have not seen that NBC News report, and I haven't heard that from Doge or from Elon himself. Again, this is to ensure that federal workers are not ripping off American taxpayers, that they are showing up to the office and that they are doing their jobs. That's what the American people expect, and it's a very simple task to complete. I did it myself, and I was more than happy to do it because I'm very grateful that I am serving the American people on the American taxpayers' dime.
Do you think Doge should hire a spokesperson just so that Elon Musk doesn't put out tweets that then confuse federal workers?
Are my press briefings not good enough for you, Jackie? John.
Carol, thank you. In the ruling by Judge McFadden yesterday, who dismissed the lawsuit that AP brought against yourself and your team members here, President Trump, in there he said, why not just do away with the entire White House Correspondents Association along with it, because essentially they have no authority. They just usurped it. What is your reaction to that?
Well, first of all, John, it's great to see you. And you are one of those individuals who has you're on a streaming platform that hundreds of thousands of people tune into every day. So it's great to see you in the briefing room. I did address that actually in my opening remarks by announcing that the White House press team in this administration will determine who gets to enjoy the very privileged and limited access in spaces such as Air Force One and the Oval Office. There are, as you know, look at this room, hundreds of journalists who show up to this building every single day and are not granted that luxury of flying on Air Force One and asking the president of the United States questions. And so we want to ensure, again, everyone has a seat at that highly coveted table. But alas, the legacy media outlets who have been doing this for quite some time and have invested resources into covering the White House, their spots will remain, just like they have in this briefing room as well. Sure. Steve.
Could you give us an update on the negotiations around the Ukraine minerals deal, and when is President Zelensky going to come visit?
So the president talked at length about this yesterday, the critical minerals deal with President Macron. And in the more than hour-long press conference he gave all of you in the Oval Office himself, there hasn't been significant updates since the president's remarks last night, but I will just reiterate his position. It's critical that this deal is signed. He expects President Zelensky to sign a deal. This is to recoup American tax dollars that have been funding Ukraine's national defense. And it's also great for the Ukrainian people who have been put through hell because of this war. And it will create a lasting economic partnership as Ukraine will need to rebuild their country because of this brutal war.
And just to follow, is Steve Witkoff delayed his trip to the Middle East so he can concentrate on this minerals deal?
I don't want to comment on Mr. Witkoff's travel plans or read anything out just for obvious reasons. But he, remains very much working. That man is working around the clock to secure this deal with Russia and Ukraine alongside Secretary Rubio and Secretary Bessent, General Keith Kellogg. He's also working very hard to secure a peace deal in the Middle East as well. So God bless him. And he's working alongside the president every single day. Sure.
Thanks, Caroline. The president's executive order creating Doge called for the naming of a Doge administrator. Who is the Doge administrator?
So the president tasked Elon Musk to oversee the Doge effort. There are career officials and there are political appointees who are helping run Doge on a day-to-day basis. There are also individuals who have onboarded as political appointees at every agency across the board to work alongside President Trump's cabinet to find and identify waste, fraud, and abuse. And they are working on that effort every day.
So is Elon
Reagan.
Musk the administrator?
Reagan.
Thanks, Caroline. I have two for you today, one on the border wall and one on the DHS investigation.
Sure.
First on the border wall construction has restarted in Texas and California under contracts awarded under Trump's first term. Is the president looking to secure new contracts, and how is he defining success in terms of border wall construction this administration?
The border wall is a signature promise of President Trump's campaign. He talked about it way back in 2015 and 2016 and people laughed at him for bringing up this idea. It's proven to be not only an idea that he delivered on in his first term and continues to deliver on in his second term, but it's also proven to be highly effective. In fact, we know where there were parts of President Trump's border wall built and standing under the previous administration, illegal border crossings dropped 87% where there was a border wall. So the wall is an incredible deterrent factor for illegal migrant caravans. The president is committed to the continuation of the construction of the wall. And, you know, the previous administration actually sold off the resources that the Trump administration secured to build the wall. And that's an egregious misuse of the American taxpayers' money. They just let those resources rot on the southern border. They actually sold them for pennies on the dollar. So this administration, DHS and ICE and Customs and Border Patrol and Tom Homan and all of the great people you know who are working on this effort are committed to continuing the construction of President Trump's border wall.
DHS investigation into people who might be leaking within the administration. Will the White House release the names of the individuals that DHS Secretary Noem said were caught leaking details of the ICE raid? And can you share how many leakers have been caught so far and what agency they were a part of?
I would defer you to DHS on the leakers that they have identified, but I know the president in this White House commend Secretary Noem for launching an internal investigation to identify those leakers because it's unacceptable for career bureaucrats who are standing in the way of the will of the American people and enacting President Trump's agenda. If they don't want to adhere to the will of this.
Now, I'm going to go ahead and divert from this video for a little bit. But there is one thing I did want to touch on, and that was the topic of, well, this whole Doge administrator is like, yeah, well, that's what they were talking about when they were saying, oh, he doesn't even run Doge, so who really runs it? It's an unelected official. It's like, oh my God. Remember, it's a department. It's a department, guys. But yes, Elon, yes, it does have an administrator. Somebody who could look over Elon's work. Like y'all wanted, right? All right, man, let's get into this. Let's get into this interview with Tulsi Gabbard.
Michael Schellenberger is reporting a source inside the FBI says the Bureau is destroying evidence. Now we know what their accomplishments were last week. Dear Elon, I wiped the servers cleaner than crooked. We only wish the NSA had shredded their secret sex chats. We told you how Intel officials were using government chat rooms to brag about their fetishes, kinks, and sex changes. Journalist Chris Rufo just uncovered more messages.
Oh, Lord.
Viewer warning. Creeps at the NSA were fantasizing about having hermaphrodite babies so they could raise them non-binary.
Huh?
They were also trashing conservatives like Ben Shapiro, calling them effing monsters. And after Pat Robertson died, CIA workers celebrated, quote, I was always taught never to say anything about the dead unless it's good. He's dead. Good.
Yo.
The NSA was also caught bad-mouthing RFK, but they really don't like Tulsi. They say she's fervently anti-queer, a Russian agent, and in a MAGA cult. This is the deep state the media says is fake. They've been shrouded in bureaucracy forever, and we're shining a light on the infection and cleaning it out. Tulsi Gabbard is the Director of National Intelligence. First of all, congratulations on your confirmation.
Thank you, Jesse. It's good to see you again.
Good to see you too. Not so good to see some of these transgender sex chats among the Intel officials. What are we going to do about that?
Well, Jesse, what we're going to do has already been done. There are over 100 people from across the intelligence community that contributed to and participated in this what is really just an egregious violation of trust. What to speak.
Yo. Damn! Hey, not over 100. Nah, that's wild. I've been like, hey, y'all some freaky people working for intelligence. Like, bro, what is it about intelligence? What, you got to be a complete freak to work for intelligence? You got to be a freak and nosy at the same time to work for Central Intelligence.
Of like basic rules and standards around professionalism. I put out a directive today that they all will be terminated and their security clearances will be revoked. But the thing here, Jesse, is that we got to take a step back because this is just barely scratching the surface. When you see what these people were saying, and thanks to Chris Rufo for putting it all out online, they were brazen in using an NSA platform intended for professional use to conduct this kind of really, really horrific behavior. And they were brazen in doing this because when was the last time anyone was really held accountable? Certainly not over the last 4 years, certainly not over the last 10, maybe 20 years. When we look at some of the biggest violations of the American people's trust in the intelligence community. So today's action in holding these individuals accountable is just the beginning of what we're seeing across the Trump administration, which is carrying out the mandate the American people gave him. Clean house, root out that rot and corruption and weaponization and politicization, so we can start to rebuild that trust in these institutions that are charged with an important mission of serving the American people, ensuring our safety, security, and freedom.
There's going to be a lot of house cleaning because now we're hearing CIA agents don't like getting Doge, so they're going to sell state secrets to our enemies. What are we going to do here?
That's great.
I am
culture, bro. You know what's so crazy? Look, it's funny thing is we've had that for like a month and it's been beta tested, and we've set that on the channel so many times, but we see it never like informs y'all that the goal's been set. It's like so weird, and I do not understand it. But nah, I know exactly what you're talking about. They gave it to us like a while back, and I don't get it. I just don't get it. Like, watch this. I could set the goal for 10 super chats, any color, in the next, like, I don't know, 30 minutes. Shoot. Shit, keep show. Right? Set it right now. Let me see if y'all see it. Boom. You see it? Let me know.
Curious about how they think this is a good tactic to keep their job. They're exposing themselves essentially by making this indirect threat, using their propaganda arm through CNN that they've used over and over and over again to reveal their hand, that their loyalty is not at all to America. It is not to the American people or the Constitution. It is to themselves. And these are exactly the kind of people that we need to root out, get rid of, so that the patriots who do work in this area, who are committed to our core mission, can actually focus on that. I got to tell you, one of the byproducts of what I just saw literally today is because of this immediate action of transparency and accountability, I have people within the...
Okay, fine. Let's just get this out the way. Oh, yes. Okay, Tulsi Gabbard is attractive for her age. All right. Good. I mean, god damn, he's like, bro, everybody's like, respectfully, I'd hit. Respectfully, though. Like, G-Unit, you are hilarious.
Intelligence community reaching out to me personally and directly saying, hey, you need to know about this. You need to look over here. People are stepping forward because they are all on board with the mission to clean house and refocus on our core mission of serving the American people.
I love to hear that, that there's a lot of patriots that want to join you in cleaning house. Can you explain to me what's going on with this mineral deal that's supposedly about to get inked with Zelensky to end this war in Ukraine? Is part of the strategy here, because after the Ukraine war started, it drove Russia and China closer together. Is this peace deal and what we're doing aimed at separating Russia from China?
Well, President Trump's, there's a few different things that are happening kind of simultaneously. This minerals deal, I think, is one thing that stands on its own. The broader deal that is still being worked on, that President Trump has made very clear remains his top priority, is ending the war between Russia and Ukraine. Those negotiations are still ongoing. President Trump wants to end the killing. And most importantly, he's looking at each of these deals and negotiations that are underway within the context of what is in the best interest of the American people and our taxpayers, and for the cause of peace.
All right. Well, it sounds like you have a lot on your plate, Tulsi Gabbard. Thanks for joining us. I know you're very, very busy, but we appreciate it, and good luck.
Happily so. Thank you very much. Good to see you, Jeff.
Shout out Tulsi. Already getting to it. You gotta love it.
77 million.
She's a traitor. She's gonna work for Russia, Lebanon, whoever. It's like, oh my God. And the thing is, none of these stories ever came out about Tulsi Gabbard until she was running for the seat of, or she was appointed DHS. Until then, until y'all figured out that, there was no rumors about her. All of a sudden, there's rumors about her working with other countries. It's like, bro, get y'all asses out of here.
Americans who reelected President Trump, then they should go find another job. And if they continue to leak information, especially information that is critical to protecting Border Patrol agents and ICE agents who are out there doing jobs that not many people are willing to do, putting their lives on the line to protect our national security, then those individuals absolutely should be fired. And this administration is committed to finding them. Sure.
Caroline, two questions for you. One related to Guantanamo Bay, the other to the White House Correspondents' Dinner. I wanted to get your response to some Washington Post reporting of the migrants who stayed over at Guantanamo Bay for the last 2 weeks. They told the Post they were rarely let outside. They were shackled and placed in what they described as cages and alleged that they were not treated as human beings. Does the White House have any response to those conditions?
At Guantanamo Bay? It's a promise the president campaigned on, that if you...
Bro, for real? Dead ass? For real? Bro, yeah, y'all reading that with me, bro? Like, hold on. So an iPhone that if you search what racist, the phone flashes Trump, then racist. It's kind of crazy. Damn, that's subliminal messaging. I mean, or that's like low-key brainwashing, to be honest.
Invade our nation's borders, if you break our country's laws, and if then you further commit heinous, brutal crimes in the interior of our country, like raping and murdering innocent, law-abiding women and girls, and committing heinous acts of violence, then you are going to be deported from this country, and you may be held at Guantanamo Bay. These are criminals we are talking about. Don't forget that. Sure.
So U.S. consumer confidence fell this month, the most since August of 2021. What is your message for Americans who are concerned about the impact of things such as tariffs on prices?
Yeah, sure. Well, thank you for that question. It's obviously an important one. The president campaigned on reigniting the Trump economy and fixing the mess that was created by the previous administration. We know they created an economic and an inflation nightmare for the American people. And I'm not going to stand up here and lie to you like my predecessor did about the state of our economy. We understand there are people that are hurting, and this administration is wholeheartedly committed to ensuring that those individuals see relief and price reductions and tax cuts, and in less regulations that are burdensome on their household and their businesses. And the president and this entire administration are focused on that every day. I can go through the very long list of economic actions this president has taken. I know you work for Bloomberg, so I'm sure you're well aware of them, but I can assure the American people that the president is very much focused on bringing down the cost of living crisis in this country that was created by the previous administration.
That, that's wild that how, Kamala supporters, the left, Democrat, whatever you want to call yourselves, y'all was okay with that. Remember this. Y'all was over here telling us that we're in the best economy ever while also complaining about prices now. And think about this. What was that attitude? Like, remember, when Biden was in office, y'all was still saying it was the best economy. I mean, so what happened to that oh-so-great economy? Like, what you mean? What, day one Trump came in, the whole economy sank? Like, that don't make too much sense.
Quick follow-up.
Sure.
Is the president planning on whipping any votes for support for the House budget vote? And if so, to whom is he making calls?
I'm not aware of any calls that he has made. I did talk to the president about his position on this just before coming down here. And he said that he's made it very clear to the Hill what his priorities for a budget are. He's said it to the Speaker of the House. He said it to Leader Thune. The Senate and the House know what President Trump wants and know what the American people want. And so he expects Congress to get it done. He's looking at the proposal from the House. He will also be looking at the proposal that I believe the Senate is drafting up as well. Sure.
Thank you, Caroline. I have two questions. Does the United States, sorry.
Well, why don't you identify your question and I'll come back to you. Sure, go ahead.
So, what guarantee that Israel will withdraw from Lebanon soil after 2 weeks, as the ceasefire terms indicates?
I'm not sure about the guarantee that you're referring to. I can tell you that this administration remains very much engaged. We know the deadline for the phase 1 ceasefire is imminent. So Steve Witkoff, whom I mentioned earlier, and the president's administration and his team and the president himself remain very much engaged. We want to see the ceasefire continue, and the president has made it very clear he wants to see all of the hostages who have been held in captivity in Gaza returned home. Jeff.
Carolyn, I was wondering if is Elon Musk going to attend the president's first cabinet meeting tomorrow?
He is, as a matter of fact. I spoke to the president about that before coming down here as well. And Elon, considering he is working alongside the president and our cabinet secretaries, this entire administration will be in attendance tomorrow just to talk about DOJ's efforts and how all of the cabinet secretaries are identifying waste, fraud, and abuse at their respective agencies. We look forward to the meeting tomorrow, and I think you'll be hearing from the president and his cabinet where they're on campus tomorrow. I hope you guys are excited.
So some of those cabinet members.
Yes, she did. Yes, she did. Now, I'm gonna be real with you. I love it. I ain't gonna lie. This is way better than what we had.
Were caught off guard by the email.
Nobody was caught off guard.
A few departments said they were caught off guard. The FBI was, the DOJ was.
Did anonymous sources say that, or did the cabinet secretary say that?
The cabinet secretaries and others have said that they were not aware that this was happening. So I'm wondering, will there be a give and take tomorrow at the cabinet meeting? Is Elon Musk or the president open to any type of dialogue about who is actually in charge of the chain of command of these workers?
I would reject the premise of your question, Jeff. The cabinet secretaries have not said that. I know anonymous sources, probably career bureaucrats, have leaked that to many of you in this room. But as I said at the beginning of this press conference, everybody is working as one team, and the president respects the decisions of his cabinet secretaries to tell their staff, not to respond to that email because they did so out of interests of national security, and they don't want to obviously risk confidential information. It's pretty common sense. Dasha.
Musk has obviously been doing a lot of work. He's been working every day and a lot of the time weekends. He is designated as a special government employee, which means that he can only work 130 days per year. Is the White House expecting him to limit his work to 130 days, or are you going to work around those rules? Do you want to see him extend beyond the 130
So today is February 25th. So I think we've been here about 35 days roughly. So ask me in another 100 days. Daniel.
Caroline, thank you. You opened up with a major announcement from Apple, $500 billion, 20,000 jobs, doubling its advanced manufacturing fund.
Yeah.
What does that signal that such a global brand would make what it called its largest ever spend commitment just a month into President Trump's second term? What does that signal about his economic vision for the country?
President Trump is a deal maker, and he has restored confidence in business leaders around this entire world. Apple is one of the largest companies on the face of the planet. They employ hundreds of thousands of Americans, but the president wants to see more Americans employed, more investments here in the United States of America. And this is another fulfillment of the president's campaign promises. I recall President Trump at his rallies on the campaign telling the world that if and when I am elected, America is going to be back, and we want your investments to be driven onshore. We want you to hire American workers, and you will have the lowest regulatory burden, the lowest tax cuts, and the president has already proven he's committed to slashing regulation. He's counting on Congress to implement those tax cuts. And so people are encouraged by the president's, again, as Tim Cook called it, they're bullish about American innovation because of the leadership of this president. And it's a stark contrast to the leadership of the previous administration, Joe Biden, who I don't think spent any time trying to recruit any investments or jobs here at home. Mary.
We're hearing from some Republicans who are voicing concerns about how these cuts are being carried out. Congressman McCormick, a Republican from Georgia, tells us he's worried it's too rapid for real people to adapt to. And he says he's concerned that it could come off as discompassionate, in his words, that it could risk undercutting the strong message that he feels you're trying to send about the need to cut government waste.
Well, I think that was one comment from one senator. And I think, as I cited in my opening remarks in the poll, the most important people are the American people. And 77% of Americans at home support a full investigation into the waste, fraud, and abuse that the federal government has been spending their tax dollars on. So that's the people the president cares about most. And that's why we're fulfilling this pledge. And again, it should come as no secret to anybody. The president campaigned on doing this.
The president yesterday said if you don't respond.
God, the president should be concerned with the will of the people, not the will of the Senate, not the will of Congress, but the will of the people who voted him in there. So it is kind of crazy how, well, excuse me, it's kind of crazy how these libs are asking for the president to be beholden to Congress.
This email, you will be fired or semi-fired. What does he mean by that?
Again, I've been asked to answer this question 3 times now. It is
semi-fired,
but it's in the memo. The president again has entrusted his cabinet secretaries to oversee their workforce. That's why he nominated them to be cabinet.
My man Vincent is right, man. So get up off your ass and double tap that screen, like the video. Make sure we get more people in on the conversation, and it spreads the video. Appreciate the support, by the way. Hit those 3 dots up there by the SK Media logo. I appreciate the support. Let's keep it going.
Cabinet secretaries, and so federal workers can be directed to their agency leadership.
But I do want to get into like a very golden moment, I'd like to say. The reason I say it was a golden moment because this guy came up there and completely killed it. So let's get into it.
You spoke about Doge. You said roughly $50 billion is set to be cut in a year of waste, fraud, and abuse by unelected bureaucrats. We're hearing this ironic narrative from the president's critics and the left-wing media that Elon Musk is an unelected bureaucrat and he's doing all this terrible stuff. Isn't one of Doge's objectives to get rid of the federal bureaucracy, the deep state, and also who was running the White House when Joe Biden was in office? Because I don't know a single person who believes it was Joe Biden.
Yes, you're tempting me to say some very harsh things about some of our media friends. Yes, it is true that many of the people in this room for 4 years failed to cover the fact that Joe Biden was mentally incompetent and was not running the country. It is also true that many people in this room who have used this talking point that Elon is not elected fail to understand how government works. So I'm glad for the opportunity for a brief civics lesson. A president is elected by the whole American people. He's the only official in the entire government that is elected by the entire nation, right? Judges are appointed, members of Congress are elected at the district or state level, just one man. And the Constitution, Article 2, has a clause known as the vesting clause, and it says the executive power shall be vested in a president, singular. The whole will of democracy is imbued into the elected president. That president then appoints staff to then impose that democratic will onto the government. The threat to democracy, indeed the existential threat to democracy, is the unelected bureaucracy of lifetime tenured civil servants who believe they answer to no one, who believe they can do whatever they want without consequence, who believe they can set their own agenda no matter what Americans vote for. So Americans vote for radical FBI reform, and FBI agents say they don't want to change. Or Americans vote for radical reform on our energy policies, but EPA bureaucrats say they don't want to change. Or Americans vote to end DEI, racist DEI policies, and lawyers in the Department of Justice say they don't want to change. What President Trump is doing is he is removing federal bureaucrats who are defying democracy by failing to implement his lawful orders, which are the will of the whole American people.
Thank you very much,
Let's go.
everybody.
He cooked on that one. I ain't going. He definitely cooked. All right, here, guys. Now, by getting conspiracy hours.
Sure. Great, thanks, Caroline. I wanted to ask about a federal judge yesterday was saying that they didn't know who the Doge administrator was and was asking the lawyer for the administration who it was, and the lawyer responded, "I don't know the answer to that. Can you tell us who the administrator of Doge is?"
Again, I've been asked and answered this question. Elon Musk is overseeing Doge. Elon Musk is a special government employee, which I've also been asked and have answered that question as well. There are career officials.
I'm sorry, but childish moment. Very childish moment. Bro, this man walked away and licked his lips. I'm never going to forget that. He walked away from the stand, looked at the media and licked his lips. I ain't even going to lie. That was good. That was kind of cool. I give it to him. That was hard.
Very much, everybody. I'm looking at the clock. We've almost had.
But all right, guys. Let's get right back to it.
At Doge, there are political appointees at Doge. I'm not going to reveal the name of that individual from this podium. I'm happy to follow up and provide that to you. But we've been incredibly transparent about the way that Doge is working.
John. The Republican budget.
Thanks,
John.
Thanks a lot, Caroline. Since your last briefing, there have been some personnel moves that have been announced by the president, and I wanted to ask you about them. One was the president replacing the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General C.Q. Brown Jr. What was the reason for the president naming a replacement for General Brown? And then I'll follow up with another personnel announcement that's been made over the last few days.
He thinks he's doing a bad job. And it's time for a shakeup at the Pentagon. They failed 7 audits in a row. The trust in our United States military amongst the war fighters is low. The president is shaking up the Pentagon and the Department of Defense, of course, with Secretary Hegseth leading. And he has the right to do that. It's actually quite common from administration to administration to do such a thing.
The president, when he swore him in as the Chief of Staff for the Air Force, called him a great man and a great gentleman. Does he distance himself from the remarks that he made back in August of 2020?
I think replacing him speaks for itself. James.
There's one other one. If I'm sorry. Thank you. On the FBI, the president also announced a new deputy director of the FBI, Dan Bongino. From what has been reported, and maybe this is not accurate reporting, you can tell me, the FBI director, Kash Patel, informed Republican senators that it would be an individual named as the deputy who was a special agent currently at the FBI. And of course, Mr. Bongino is not. What was the reason for naming Mr. Bongino to this position? And was Mr. Patel not correct in making that assurance to those senators?
I'm not sure if anybody in this room has listened to Mr. Bongino when he talks about the past corruption at the FBI, when he talks about his experience serving for the United States.
Man, my man D. Michaels, man, we already seen it. It was I think it was the last stream. Yeah, the last stream we watched it. How the bro was being all doomsday about the middle class. He's like, I bet against the middle class and I make millions off it, and I'm betting against y'all again. And I'm just like, God damn it, bro. It's making everything sound so doomsday, like it's all over for us. Like, yep, you might as well give up if you're in the middle class, because yeah, I don't know. I was hearing where he was coming from, respect to his intellect and all that good stuff, but I'm a little too pessimistic to go for that.
State Secret Service.
I'm sorry, not pessimistic. I'm sorry, I'm a bit too optimistic to go for that.
This is a man who loves his country and who has honorably served our country in ways that many people have not. He understands the depth of the corruption at these institutions, which the American people reelected President Trump to shake up. And I think it's quite despicable to see many networks in this room who have had chyrons on their television screens labeling Mr. Bongino as a far-right podcaster. He is not. He is a former law enforcement agent. He is a former Secret Service agent who put his life on the line to protect this country. Yep. And that is why the President of the United States has entrusted him for this important role. He's also an outsider to this Washington swamp. And we often see that when outsiders are appointed to such coveted positions, a lot of people in this city get very, very nervous. And they should be, because Dan Bongino and Kash Patel and Attorney General Bondi are focused on rooting out the corruption at these agencies and ending the weaponization of government once and for all. I'd like to end with something. As you all know, you know what, James? I'm feeling generous. Go ahead.
No, I will take it. Thank you, Caroline.
Sure.
I wanted to ask
Don't make me regret this.
I wanted to ask about the Macron visit and the Russia-Ukraine talks in general.
Sure.
It's pretty clear to my eye that President Macron was performing a kind of delicate.
Oh, guys, and make sure you guys subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed already. I've said this many times. 500,000 people tune into this channel every month consistently, but who are not subscribed. Not subscribed. 500,000 of y'all, and I know you are out there. I see you, dog. I see you. So go ahead and hit that S.E.T Media logo. Go ahead and go straight to the channel. Subscribe to the channel. I appreciate the support, and I'll see you again tomorrow.
Dance, lavishing praise on the president while seeking in his own remarks to try to bind President Trump to positions and even specific language that the president has not committed to heretofore. Mm-hmm. One of the most bracing comments from President Macron was when he said that the deal that President Trump is negotiating with the Russians must not be, quote, a surrender for Ukraine. All of the public points that we have heard from President Trump, from Secretary Hegseth, and from other administration officials talking about these negotiations have averred to, quite openly, to concessions from the Ukrainians that will have to be made. The minerals deal, the abandonment of their NATO ambitions, and other elements. So far, we have not heard any administration official suggest a
I mean, hold on now. Trump just already said it. He said, hey, yo, guess what? Yeah, we're going to find a way to get in on, Ukrainians, rare minerals, rare earth minerals, and all that good stuff. We're going to find a way to take care of, to utilize their resources that Russia may or may not have control over. I'm going to have to look into that a little bit deeper because the section that they got, I'd have to look into that plot of land and see what the importance was before Russia took it over. Oh, I wonder if I can find it now. But anyway, though, shout out my man BG Floyd, man. Appreciate the support. He says, support and hit the like. It's free. And yes, it is free. Just hit the like button. Like, boom, it's easy as double tapping that screen or hitting that 3 dots up there in the white box.
single concession that the Russians should be prepared to make. And so I wonder if you could assure us, at a minimum, that this negotiation process will not be as one-sided as the Europeans seem to think it is, that in fact, President Putin will also be made to engage in some concessions to reach this deal.
Well, I think the president knows how to make a deal better than anyone who has ever assumed the office of the American presidency. And in order to make a deal, you have to bring both sides to the table. And typically when you make a good deal, both sides leave that table a little bit unhappy. I'm not going to outline the concessions that the president and his team are engaged in discussing. These are obviously ongoing negotiations, and it would be unwise of me to impede them from this podium. But the president has made significant improvements in ending this conflict. He is committed to seeing an end to the war. He wants to see the bloodshed and the killing stopped. He wants to stop seeing young men being killed and slaughtered. This has been going on for far too long. The president inherited this mess because of the incompetence of the previous administration, and he's committed to fixing it. And he's made, some of those concessions clear, but I'm not going to get ahead of him on additional ones. But he is wholeheartedly committed to striking a peace deal in Russia and Ukraine, also in the Middle East. Thank you very much, guys. Good to see you.
All right. Now, let's get into somebody to, be transparent with us. Shout out my man Cash Patel.
Wow. First and foremost, we were just with President Trump, and I just want to thank him. I know he's not here in the room right now, but what a ride we have been on. What a courageous warrior and leader he has been. And the faith and trust he has put in me to lead the FBI is the greatest honor that I'll ever have in my life. And to General Bondi, that sounds pretty freaking cool. Pam, you're my sister, you're my mentor, you're my friend, you're my boss. And the confidence you have placed in me, I will never violate that trust. The men and women of the FBI will be led under your leadership through one standard, the Constitution. So thank you for entrusting me, Pam. Man, this is effing crazy. So obviously you don't get here alone. I'm here because of God. I'm here because of my family. And
it's crazy. A lot of people actually wanted Cash Patel in there. He was one of the main people like, please, bro, let's get Cash Patel. We need that man. He's been speaking good for the past 2 years about what he's going to do as FBI director. And now that he's there, I mean, dog, like JFK files, MLK files, MK Ultra. I mean, everything that they've been hiding from us, I won't. And he's going to give it to us, bro. He damn near, like, I'm not sure if people say he was joking, but he was saying, bro, I'm going to create a declassification department. You can damn near pull up and just get declassified documents, no wait.
Because of my friends, and you're literally in this room because you made it happen. My sister,
declassified.
Nisha, and my nephew Aryan flew in from London just to be here. My beautiful girlfriend Alexis is here. Yes, I agree. My aunts and uncles are here. They've come from all over the country. I am living the American dream. And anyone that thinks the American dream is dead, just look right here. You're talking to a first-generation Indian kid who's about to lead the law enforcement community, the greatest nation on God's green earth. That can't happen anywhere else. To the senators and the men and women of the United States House of Representatives, you placed an enormous trust in me, an enormous leap of faith. One that I didn't know that I could possibly earn back, but I'm going to spend every single day on this job doing so. The fact that you placed the confidence you did in me has inspired me to reach new heights at this job. I promise you the following. There will be accountability within the FBI and outside of the FBI, and we will do it through rigorous constitutional oversight starting this weekend. This is great. We all used to live in the same freaking house. Yeah, I don't have any prepared remarks. I wish I could go around the room and, tell the story about how each and every one of you have magically touched my life to put me in this position. What a roller coaster ride it has been. I do know this. We are in this room together because you guys have a love of country that is truly inspirational, and it bleeds out everywhere we go. And if you look around this room, you see civil servants, you see warriors, you see attorneys, you see great husbands and fathers and mothers and wives. And we're fighting for the same thing, our future, our children, this guy. And there is no greater mission. I wish I had more words to thank every single one of you, but every time I look at every single one of you, you guys know the stories you can't tell. More importantly, the ones you can. This is, Pam and I were just talking in the back, and we were like, do you believe this? Like, we were on the campaign trail together. We were attorneys in the first administration together. Now we're here. She's the attorney general. I'm the director of the FBI. Like, this is insane. And I don't really fully believe it yet. I hope to, but I'm just not here without you guys. And look, I know the media's in here,
and they're about to cook your ass on everything you just said. But let's go ahead and move on to
my view.
Because I ain't gonna lie, she's been having pretty good interviews. And hey, man, Department of Homeland Security, so she's worth taking a listen to. She's holding some secrets in.
Welcome back to My View. One of the newest members of our country's national security team, Tulsi Gabbard, has carved probably the most unique path to her current role. From presidential candidate to disillusioned Democrat, and now one of our nation's staunchest defenders during President Trump's second term. She's bold and strong and won't let anything stand in her way. But I'll let her tell you herself. Well, the official director of national intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, it's sort of amazing. If you look back 5 years ago, you ran for president as a Democrat.
Yeah.
Could you ever have pictured that you would right now be sitting as part of Donald Trump's administration?
It's not something that I pictured back then. And quite frankly, it wasn't something that I pictured even a few months ago. It's been an incredible experience for me to just be a small part of helping President Trump get elected and to now be in a position to help carry out his mandate, to end that weaponization and politicization.
Tulsi, what would you call, well, is what we would call a sensible lib. So because she's a sensible lib, it's like, bro, she brought a lot of that party over here. She brought a lot of those people to Trump's side. She's like, oh, well, if Tulsi can rock with him, I can rock with him. Damn near same thing with RFK when it came to independence. And it's a few Democrats. They're like, oh, well, if RFK can rock with Trump, then all right, means an independent, or it means a Dem can rock with RFK. Can rock with Trump. It's just a co-signing. It's a co-signing that really helped my man out. So, hey, shout out to them.
Of our intelligence community, of our law enforcement, it's a privilege.
You are a person who can speak to that to a certain extent. You are also the first female combat veteran to be director of national intelligence. How does your past experience
really? Where?
help you in this role, and what are you taking from what you've done in the past and utilizing it now?
Shortly after criticizing Vice President Kamala Harris, who had just become candidate Kamala Harris after President Biden stepped aside, I was very quickly placed on this little-known domestic terror watch list called Quiet Skies. There's a long story I can tell you there about what that entailed with surveillance and federal air marshals being tasked with an active targeting package. It really speaks to how these institutions that exist to ensure the safety, security, and freedom of the American people being weaponized against the American people actually creates a greater national security risk. When we, the American people, cannot trust those who have the responsibility to keep us safe.
There is a fine line, though, because I think people wonder, how can you ensure the safety of the American people, but also protect their privacy and from government intrusion?
It is a heavy responsibility, and it is the most essential one. For too long, as you know, we've seen people in positions of great power tell us that, oh, well, you know, if we just violate your civil liberties and freedom a little bit, it's okay because we're trying to keep you safe. Unfortunately, you know, we've seen this for decades, and the more our freedoms are eroded, the more the foundations of our democracy are.
She's kind of speaking on, like, you know, the 9/11, like, well, due to certain terrorist attacks or certain pandemics, it's like we lose certain freedoms. Like with 9/11, like now you can never just run on a plane without having to, you know, go through the painstaking weight of TSA or COVID. Now all of a sudden, I mean, shoot, like you only got a 24-hour nothing no more.
Are eroded. So, you know,
the 24-hour gyms never came back. That 24-hour Walmart, man, that shit never came back.
A lot of people talk about national security or security threats, but there's two components of that leaders have to really uphold, which is, yes, there's such a thing as a threat to physical security, but the threat to our freedom and our liberty must be balanced right alongside that threat to our physical security.
Just to go back a moment to your previous life as a Democrat, you had a very famous sort of viral moment in a presidential debate against Kamala Harris, where you kind of called her out.
Senator Harris says she's proud of her record as a prosecutor and that she'll be a prosecutor president, but I'm deeply concerned about this record. She kept people in prison beyond their sentences to use them as cheap labor for the state of California, and she fought to keep cash bail system in place that impacts poor people in the worst kind of way.
I think a lot of people,
the Truancy Act.
will look at that moment and they say, is that the moment that Tulsi Gabbard started to maybe change her view on things? Was that part of your political conversion, that moment?
That whole experience of running for president in the Democratic primary in 2020, that really exposed the Democrat Party's focus on things that did not matter to the American people. I go back to 2016 when President Trump was elected, and how very quickly the Democrat Party leadership, the party that I once joined that fought for free speech, that stood up for civil liberties, a party that had many voices who called for peace instead of war, they very quickly flipped the script because now all they cared about was defeating Donald Trump and silencing those who supported him. And so the erosion, you know, the shift in the Democratic Party ultimately made it so that I had to leave the Democrat Party. It was completely unrecognizable from the party that I had joined over 20 years before.
I think a lot of people watched that whole process and they said, these people have learned nothing. They are ranting and raving out there about transparency, about saving taxpayer dollars, about the American people actually understanding what is going on.
I was with President Trump when I was sworn in the Oval Office, and something that he said that day really struck home, because he talked about needing to have people in our government who care. And so when I asked myself, how is it that the Democrat Party still hasn't heard the voices of the American people who are sick and tired of our taxpayer dollars being wasted?
As it turns out, some of those taxpayer dollars are already being saved under Tulsi's tenure.
So you were confirmed, and then 6 o'clock the next morning, you're on an airplane, and it's been rapid pace. Has there been anything that surprised you that you didn't expect so far? I mean, is DOJ involved in what you're doing?
The ODNI itself is a pretty small organization compared to most other elements. But even in that small organization, getting rid of DEI saved American taxpayers roughly $20 million, literally with the stroke of President Trump's pen. Just in my organization alone, is a great thing, and we're excited to be able to uncover more.
Yeah, we'll take that for sure.
Now, solidly on President Trump's team, she's making clear common sense is making a comeback.
Joe Biden once said that white supremacy was the single greatest terrorist threat to our homeland.
Wild.
What do you feel is the greatest threat to the American people's safety?
We look at the last 4 years of open borders, where we had tens of millions of people come across our borders, many of whom we don't know who they are or what their intentions are. And very specifically, the threat of radical Islamist terrorism here within our country is higher than it's ever been before, not only because of President Biden's open borders, but because of his and his administration's fear of being called Islamophobes. They took their attention and our resources away from that threat and once again pointed it at our fellow Americans.
What do you feel like whenever history looks back on Tulsi Gabbard as our Director of National Intelligence? What do you hope is written in the history books?
That I will have made an impact on rebuilding the trust that the American people deserve to have in these institutions that exist to serve the people. There are a lot of great Americans bringing that focus back.
Yeah, we're getting back to that American first mantra because, yeah, a lot of these departments haven't been American first, or they've just been, well, honestly, taking American taxpayer money first and not giving it back, or not, I don't know, reinvesting it back into the people. Like, think about it. We give the Department of Education millions of dollars, but and its whole job is to invest it into the people, right? Invest it into the children. It's failing to do so. Like, really. And shout out Cultural Leotard. I appreciate the support, sis. She says the Dems lost their way after the second term under Obama. Obama said Congress wouldn't let him do anything, so he chose SJW instead. Led the entire DNC into a progressive nonsense, into progressive nonsense. And yeah, now I did not know that part though. I did not know that. So shout out Cultural Leotard for Loki sharing that, because personally I ain't know. But that kind of doesn't make sense though, because it does seem like after, everybody was rocking with the Dems, and after Obama, it was like, all right, it was like a little bit of distrust with him because, all right, this man had a lot of promises. He didn't really fulfill any. But, I'm calling about to the black community. But, it was like, all right, whatever, they gave us a villain named Trump, and now, we was all against him. So we kind of ignored what Obama gave us, which was nothing. And, well, luckily, we was able to turn around this season, because with the whole Biden fiasco, it's kind of what culture is leading to. It's like, yeah, it's a progressive nonsense that like Loki was progressing in the Biden administration. It became the prominent ideal to be just as progressive as possible. And how did that work? How did that work for them?
As Director of National Intelligence is the heart of the impact that I hope to be able to make.
We appreciate DNI Gabbard for taking the time to sit down during a very busy couple of weeks on the job.
And all right, guys. All right, we're going to go ahead and close it down. We have reached that time.